Yo legends! Welcome back to the channel. Grab your headphones and lock in, because today's story is on another level. Want the next chapter? Drop a comment below, and if the legend continues, I'm bringing it straight to you. Disclaimer: I do not claim ownership of this story. All rights belong to the original creators. Note: I'm constantly tweaking the settings to make it as immersive as possible. What if the smartest man in Marvel was insane? Chapter 73: The True Identity of the Monster. Karen nodded, one hand pressed down on the monster's neck with all his strength, and the other hand inserted the laser gun into his waist. Then he squeezed the monster's neck with one hand and held the chain tied to the monster's body with the other. The whole action went down extremely smoothly. Such a terrifying monster didn't resist. It seemed to be used to being treated violently. It was very docile. The upper body of the monster was forced to pull up, revealing its face, which was a very strange female face, which was divided into two parts. The upper half of the face is very beautiful and very good-looking, but the eyes are chaotic and dull, looking very dull. The lower half of the face is extremely ugly and disgusting. There is a large scar on each side of the mouth that spreads to the corner of the ear. The wound was sewn with brown wool from a knitted sweater, which looks like two centipedes. A terrifying smile formed. A row of rusty steel nails was also nailed to the mouth of the monster woman, like an ancient punishment. There is also a head under her neck, which is a male head. The man's head seemed to sense someone coming in, and he slowly raised his head, revealing a face. It was a very handsome face, with deep blue eyes, long eyelashes, a strong bridge of the nose, a pointed chin, and most of all, there was a tear mole at the corner of the eye. The man exudes the style of an English gentleman, with pointed ears, like an elf that exists only in stories. There was a bright red, bloody, incurable scar on both sides of the corner of his mouth, like a centipede, sewn with thin silver thread. A very scary and weird smile formed on the man's face, but the difference was that the man's mouth was not nailed with rusty iron nails. The muscles on the man's face were trembling, and he opened his mouth with great difficulty. There was an empty space inside. His tongue was removed, and all his teeth were pulled out. A pure silver cross was inlaid on the lower teeth of his mouth. There were two arms in front of the man's chest, hanging weakly on the ground. Hill looked at the man's face in front of him, and felt very familiar. She seemed to have seen it somewhere. After carefully recalling it, Hill suddenly widened his eyes, frowned, and asked with a look of shock, "You are a vampire, the heir of the Tordor clan, the next patriarch, the future leader of the secret party, Patrick Tordor." Hearing the words, the man nodded fiercely. Hill took a deep breath. The S.H.E.L.D. database records information about vampires. This group has been hiding in the dark, living by sucking blood, afraid to see the sun, the bugs in the sewers, a total of 13 clans, divided into 4 factions. The Secret Alliance, Secret Party, namely Camarilla, Brutch, Gengaro, Macawi, Norfile, Tordor, Remel, Fanjuo. Sabbat Alliance, Sabbat, Demon Party, namely Sabbat, Lesambra and Zemis. Independent clans, Asamit, Set, Giovanni, Rivno. Dead clan, Cappadocia. Among them, the independent clan and the extinct clan have completely gone to death and have withdrawn from the stage of history, leaving only the Secret Party and the Demon Party. The Secret Party is close to human beings and loves human culture very much. They take the initiative to move closer to humans, surrender. Every Secret Party vampire is actively integrating into human society. When S.H.E.L.D. was first established, these secret parties took the initiative relied on over. Give all the details of your family, where is the old nest, and how do you get blood? How to disguise? They surrendered very actively, and the secret party became the spies of the vampire clan without a backbone. Betrayed the demon party that is also a vampire clan. The files of every secret party vampire are backed up in S.H.E.L.D. and they are a good helper in dealing with the demon party. The demon party line is very tyrannical, cruel, and easy to kill, like blood, and wants to conquer all human beings and develop human beings into their own family. It once caused a huge wave in the ancient and dark medieval period, but soon they were dressed in pure clothes. Silver armor, the knights holding sterling silver greatswords shoved horizontally. But their ambitions have always existed, which is a very unstable factor. Fortunately, there is a secret party lineage. Otherwise, these vampires of the demon party lineage must have developed countless family members long ago. The boss of this secret party line is the patriarch of the Tordo clan, and the father of this very miserable young vampire in front of him. Hill frowned, put his hand into the mouth of the vampire Patrick, took out the sterling silver cross, and then pulled out the thin silver line at the corner of his mouth. Without the suppression of the sterling silver items, the scars on Patrick's face began to heal, and the pulled tongue and cracked teeth began to grow. Seeing this, Hill quickly opened his mouth to ask about the fireworks and why Patrick was imprisoned here. But a sudden change occurred. Ha! Frantic laughter suddenly appeared on the woman's face, and that laughter broke away the centipede-like scar on her face, and also collapsed the row of rusty steel nails. Her eyes were no longer sluggish, and her eyes also exuded a scarlet and demonic light. The black iron chain also began to shake wildly, directly throwing Karen out of her body, and under the green horny skin, the speed of what was wriggling began to get faster and faster. Hearing the crazy laughter, Patrick shed tears in his eyes. He quickly appeased the woman's emotions, and stretched out the obviously weird hands in front of his chest. Patrick stroked the woman's face gently with his hand. He said in a very gentle tone, "Teresa, sober up, I'm Pat, I'm your lover. I'm always here." Woo, woo, woo. When the woman heard Pat's name, she roared wildly, a head twisted wildly, her neck slammed upwards, and she tried all her strength to scramble upwards, as if trying to push her head away from the Pat. This special body broke free. But she broke free for a long time, but to no avail. Her head has been completely embedded in Patrick's neck, and the intersection of the two is as strong as being poured by molten iron. A woman's neck and a man's neck have grown together completely, becoming a whole, an inseparable whole. He, the woman's emotions collapsed, the smile on her face became more and more crazy, and the crazy laughter became louder and louder. She looks like a devil. Patrick continued to gently stroke the woman's cheek with his hand. The woman's head grew on his neck. Although he could never see the woman's face again, those blue eyes were full of love. Patrick slowly lowered his head and showed the girl's beautiful face. He expressed his love very affectionately and said with a smile, as if singing a sweet song, "Teresa, you are me. The most beautiful girl I have ever seen. You are so gentle, so loving. You are as kind as an angel in heaven." He's a monster. He's a selfish and ugly monster who likes to laugh. He's a paranoid monster. He thinks you're his girlfriend, you're his wife, but you've never been his wife. You've never been his girlfriend. You've never loved him. You've never insulted him. You've never laughed at him. You've never scolded him. It's all his own imaginings. All fantasies of his own creation. The kind you just gave him a meal during the weekly almsgiving, just bought him a piece of clothing during the weekly almsgiving. Teresa, you've always been innocent. John's Cathedral, you've always been that chaste nun. You've always been that kind and smiling nun. You've always been that angel sent by God to the world. Teresa, do you remember where we first met? Chapter 74, The Birth of the Laughing Virus. It was an evening. The sun had already set, and the moon had just risen. As a vampire, I was able to go out for a walk. I was lying on a bench in the park, like a homeless tramp. You came to me with a smile, handed me the bread in your hand, and took off your virgin robe and covered it on me. You smiled and said to me, "Don't be lost, don't be confused. The merciful Lord is always there, and he will always guide the confused crowd." Teresa, vampires can never look directly at the sun. Once they look directly at the sun, they will turn to ashes. There is never a sun in vampire books. I have only seen the description of the sun in human books. It is a huge fireball that is eternal and indestructible, always burning hot. It always emits a gentle light, moisturizing and illuminating all life in the world that day. I saw the sun. I saw the sun I always wanted to see. Teresa, you are my Patrick's son. Later, we fell in love in one night privately for life. When the woman heard the words, her expression was a little dazed, as if she had recovered a little bit of memory. Tears flowed from her beautiful eyes. She lowered her head and buried her face in Patrick's ear, and whispered in a low voice, "Teresa, Patrick, Teresa, Patrick." She seemed to remember her identity, and her mood improved, and the thing that was squirming frantically under the green horny skin on her body also slowed down in an instant. Patrick continued to caress Teresa's face with his hands, his incomparably tender touches, each with his incomparably affectionate love. Hill looked at the scene in front of him, and it only felt like a dream. All this was really too unreal. A body has two heads, and they can communicate with each other. And this is not the kind of deformed child who was just born in the hospital and cannot be separated from congenital. If she is not mistaken, this is a spliced body, which is the head of the female named Teresa, which is directly sewn on the neck of the vampire Patrick. And the one who did this must be the clown. After all, when S.H.E.L.D came to the Statue of Liberty today, it was all guided by the clown. Hill only felt very depressed in her heart. She was so depressed that she couldn't breathe. This method was too cruel, and it was simply not something that humans could do. No matter how crazy a lunatic is, he probably can't do such a thing, and probably only the devil in hell can do such a thing. This clown is no longer crazy. He has completely lost his humanity. He is a devil he has never seen before, and he is a devil with extremely cruel methods. Hill looked at Patrick and asked, "Patrick, did the clown do this? And who is the clown? Also, what was the bomb that detonated the Statue of Liberty? Where the hell was that bomb?" Hearing this, Patrick took a deep breath, nodded, opened his mouth slowly, and replied, "The clown's name is Arthur. He is a patient suffering from laughter. Arthur was a poor man, born with binge laughter. His father was a drug addict, and when he was 5, his father killed her mother, and then his father died and was adopted by a prostitute. That prostitute was so selfish that she told Arthur that he was born to please others, and she let Arthur make fun of people because Arthur can't express his emotions. He can only laugh at anything that happens. He is regarded as a monster by the people around him, and he has been bullied by others. I was regarded as a monster when I was young." Arthur, who was conservative and bullying, met Teresa of the same age. Teresa smiled and told him that only the children chosen by God, the children chosen by God, the children chosen by the Lord, can laugh every day at that time. I think Arthur already fell in love with Teresa, and Teresa has become the sun, the only light in his life. But Teresa, who has always pursued Christian teachings, Teresa, who has always preached God, just to save every single one of God's people, she just wanted to save, told a white lie. Arthur fell in love with Teresa and had all kinds of fantasies every day. In his own spiritual world, he had married Teresa. At that time, Arthur's mental state was getting better and better. Laughing is not as scary as before. He can slowly control his emotions, and I had already confessed to Teresa at that time. We were together. We had been hiding from Arthur, and we wanted to tell him after Arthur got better. But our underground relationship was exposed, and Arthur went completely crazy. One night he brutally killed Teresa, cut Teresa's mouth with a knife, and exposed Teresa's face. The same smile as him after killing Teresa, Arthur put on a red suit, smeared white paint on his face, and started calling himself a clown. The clown dragged Teresa's body and found me. I was angry and showed the real body of a vampire. I wanted to avenge Teresa, but I didn't expect that I could beat him. The more Patrick spoke, the more his voice trembled. His eyes were full of fear, and the pair of bat wings shrank together. This body was obviously a monster, but at the moment it looked like a shivering chick. It looks so pathetic. The clown tore off my arm, tore off my bat wings, shattered the teeth in my mouth, pulled out my tongue, and put a sterling silver cross in my mouth, a silver utensil, the ability to suppress vampires. Then the clown drew blood from his own body and injected it into Teresa's body. The dead Teresa actually came back to life, but she only lived for a while and then died again. The clown laughed and slashed my neck with a knife, then snapped Teresa's neck, put her head on my neck, and injected his own blood into my body. My body has mutated and turned into a green monster. Then the clown looked at my mutilated body, divided Teresa's body, and put the two of us together. A miracle happened. Teresa came alive on my body. The clown imprisoned us in an abandoned chemical factory and began torturing Teresa's spirit day and night. I can't speak. I can only listening to the clown telling his story all the time, only listening to the words that have been tormenting Teresa. He's a devil. He keeps transforming us, injecting all kinds of weird things, then inject the blood in our body into his fanatical believers to transform them. This is a more terrible thing than the blood poison used by vampires to develop their relatives, like a terrible virus. The clown even gave this thing a name, Laughing Virus. Chapter 75. Fireworks are about to bloom. When Hill heard the words, her face suddenly became horrified. She frowned and asked extremely nervously, "Laughter virus? Is the clown already using the crazy laughter virus? Has he spread the virus?" Patrick shook his head, took a long sigh, and said, "If you came a step late, the virus should have spread today. Teresa and I are the mothers of the mad laughter virus. The powerful infectious power of the laughter virus stems from the ability of vampires to develop their relatives. Fortunately, the clown has not caught other vampires, and he only conducted research on our bodies. Next, it's about the bomb. Teresa and I were injected with another substance, and the clown didn't tell us what it was, but that substance can make the human body produce high temperatures. I and Teresa's body is about to explode, and those things that squirm wildly under the skin are that substance. Once Teresa and I explode, the Statue of Liberty will collapse, and the laughter virus will spread into the air, infecting the entire New York City. The clown said he would bring new changes to the world. He would baptize the world and put it on the right track. He said that the world is full of diseases. Only he can save the world. He will give mankind, bring a new course, bring a great change to this dirty and dark world." After hearing this, Hill took a deep breath and asked very seriously, "Patrick, what should we do now? How can we stop this explosion? How can we stop the spread of the laughter virus?" Hearing this, Patrick smiled and said, "The clown's mad laughter virus is very powerful, but it's a pity that he still doesn't understand vampires." Director Hill, cut off the chains on my body, and then please leave here. This one. Leave it to me. Director Hill. I, Patrick Tordo, the successor of the Toledo clan of the 13 vampire clans. I am the next leader of the secret party. My life has long been connected with human beings. Believe me, I will to fix this now. I want to chat with Teresa for a while, stay quiet for a while, and finish our last time. In addition, please tell my father that I have never regretted my choice. Even if vampires and humans love each other, is destined to be cursed." Hearing this, Hill frowned and said with a very serious expression, "Patrick, I know that the vampires in your secret party are close to humans and are trustworthy, but I still have to report this matter to Director Nick Fury. You know the maniac virus is not a small matter. It is a big matter related to the fate of all mankind." Hearing this, Patrick couldn't help but let out a wry smile. He had already reached the last step of his life, but what he said still could not fully convince the people of S.H.E.L.L.D. and still had to be suspected. Is this S.H.E.L.L.D.? Is this human? He can understand them, but his heart is really uncomfortable and painful. However, there is no way. Humans sometimes don't even believe in themselves. How can they still believe in vampires? But I have to say, human beings are really fascinating. There are things in the human world that the world of vampires will never have, and this is what the secret parties have always wanted to harvest. The name of this thing is emotion and love. Vampires who eat human blood for a living, their blood is cold, and they are born without emotion. In the world of vampires, there is only a strict caste system, only a strict bloodline level. Patrick nodded and smiled. "Okay, Director Hill, I understand you." Hill took a deep breath and sighed helplessly. "Patrick, I also understand your feelings, but I'm sorry. We must be responsible for humanity, so thank you for your understanding." After that, Hill pressed the headset lightly, switched to Nick Fury's channel, and said with a serious expression, "Director Nick, we found Patrick Torito of the Vampire Secret Party on the top floor of the Statue of Liberty." Patrick said the Joker's real name is Arthur, and also told us that the woman Joker likes is called Teresa and is a nun. I think that's why the Joker chose that time. He was influenced by Teresa. He used to be a devout Christian. Patrick's body has been transformed by the clown. The clown cruelly sealed Teresa's head around Patrick's neck and developed a laughter virus on their bodies. Their body has become the mother of the virus, and they have been injected with strange substances, and they are about to explode. Once it explodes, people in New York will be infected with the laughing virus, but Patrick said let's go, he has a solution to the virus way. I don't know what the director's opinion is. Inside St. John's Cathedral, Nick Fury sat on the chair, frowned, and after 3 minutes of contemplation, he took a deep breath and said, "The secret party is not worth believing, but the Tordos are believable, and Patrick's mother is a human. He has human blood in his body. Tell him the news. That's why his father joined S.H.E.L.L.D. After all, Nick Fury quit the communication channel. He slowly raised his head and looked at the big clock hanging in the church. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. But the clown still did not appear. Nick Fury is feeling very bad right now. He's very flustered. There's so much going on in these few hours. It's so complicated. First, the dead body was suddenly resurrected and attacked Hill and his party. Then Coulson and his party were unknown. Then a mysterious person suddenly invaded the S.H.E.L.D. system, told how to solve the fireworks, and issued a warning of this incident. Don't continue investigating the Joker after that, and also mention Carol Danvers by name. After that, the person who could solve the fireworks hidden at the top of the Statue of Liberty was found, and it turned out to be the future leader of the Vampire Secret Party, Patrick Torito. And then there was something more about the laughter virus. All these things together made Nick Fury very uncomfortable. These things were really beyond his scope of thinking. Even if he drinks the blue potion he carries with him now, there is really no way to figure it out. Nick Fury only felt that his underpants had been taken off, and looked at it all. To know the name of Carol Danvers, he should be the only one who knows in S.H.E.L.D. Who could that mysterious voice be? Is it the Kree? Or the Sturans? Chapter 76. Hallelujah. Inside the Statue of Liberty. After listening to Nick Fury's words, Hill looked at Patrick, who had become a monster in front of her. She smiled and said, "Patrick, Director Nick has agreed. We will leave now, and Director Nick told me a very important news. Patrick, your mother is a human. You have human blood flowing in your body. You are a very special vampire after all." Hill took the S.H.E.L.D. agents to cut off the black chains tied to Patrick, then turned and left the house on the top floor of the Statue of Liberty. Patrick looked at the S.H.E.L.D. agents who had left, opened his mutilated bat wings, and tears flowed from his blue eyes. He gently stroked Teresa's face with his hands and said with a smile, "Teresa, did you hear me? I also have human blood flowing in my body." Teresa's face was pressed against Patrick's head. She nodded. With tears in her eyes, she whispered, "Pat, I'm sorry. I hurt you. If I hadn't fallen in love with you, this wouldn't have happened." Patrick shook his head and said, "Teresa, don't blame yourself like this. It's not your fault. On the contrary, I killed you. This is the curse of our vampire family. This is forbidden love. Once a vampire falls in love with a human, he loses what he loves, and once a vampire has a child with a human, he loses everything and ends up alone." Teresa, you know, as a child, I kept asking my father, what kind of vampire is my mother? What does she look like? What character does she have? How did she die? How did my mother die? This has always puzzled me, because as long as vampires don't take the initiative to go under the sun, even if they don't eat human blood, they can live for decades. Father at that time, he never spoke, never answered my questions. He always smiled. Now, I finally know, he is also cursed with love. I fell in love with human beings just like him. However, Teresa, I'm much luckier than my father, because I'm not going to die alone. I'm going to embrace death with the people I love. The sun is about to come out, and it's probably my first. It's time to embrace the sun instead of avoiding it. Teresa smiled and said, Pat, this is the first time you watched the sun with me. I will always remember the sun. This time Patrick smiled and said in a very gentle tone, although this is the first time to see the sun with you, it is not the first time for me to see the sun, because Teresa is my son. Teresa smiled, tears streaming from her eyes, and the tears fell on Patrick's neck, whispering, Pat, if only I had hands, so I could hug you. St. John's Cathedral. Nick Fury was sitting in the chair, and he was very anxious and regretful at the moment. Because he came alone this time, there were no S.H.E.L.D. agents by his side. Previously in S.H.E.L.L.D, when Nick Fury entered high-frequency thinking, he made a judgment that the clown would go to St. John's Cathedral alone. He chose to go alone and chose to face the clown. The higher thinking brought by the injection made Nick Fury full of confidence, and he felt that he could solve the clown alone. However, now that the effects of the potion had dissipated for 3 hours, those 3 hours were too torturous for Nick Fury. But the sobered Nick Fury did not choose to let the agents of S.H.E.L.L.D come here, because the kind of chaos and spirit of the clown is too affecting people, and only he and S.H.E.L.L.D can face it with the purest will. The huge clock at the top of St. John's Cathedral was turning slightly when the hands were at 3. The minute hand is at 1, and at this moment, there is only 1 hour left to be baptized. The door of the church finally sounded. He, I'm really sorry to wake you up late at night, disturbing your sleep, but there's no way. Today is really a great day. I need your choir to play to sing the holy praise to the Lord. The music plays. A clown in a red suit with white oil paint on his face walked slowly into the church, holding a rope in his left hand, and tied to the rope was a group of priests and nuns in robes with musical instruments in their hands. The clown swung the pistol in his right hand like a shepherd and drove the priests and nuns into the church. But those devout believers remained silent, staring at the clown with a pair of eyes full of resentment. Ha ha ha! The clown laughed loudly, pointed the gun in his hand at the crowd, and a bang sounded, and scarlet blood splattered on his face. If you still want to live, then start singing. I have always been a reasonable person. Think about your family. They are still waiting for you at home, so don't let them worry. Besides, you must know that you promised me. You must be honest in your life. People who lie will not be liked by God. Listening to the clown's words, an older priest pointed his finger at the clown's face, gritted his teeth fiercely, and shouted in anger, You devil, you monster, you threaten us with our family's life. Your heart is dark and dirty, you are a beast in human skin. We will not sing praises for you. You will definitely go to hell. The clown laughed, pointed the gun at the priest, shook his head, and said, He, this gentleman, I didn't see that you who was kneeling on the ground and begging me to let the child go with tears on your face just now, actually still a hard bone. Maybe I'll go to hell, but before that, I think you'll have to meet your God first. Then a bang sounded and bright red roses bloomed again in the crowd. The old priest fell to the ground, opened his eyes wide, went to the kingdom of heaven, and saw God. The clown let out a long sigh, put down the rope and gun in his hand, and made a prayer gesture with both hands. Your name is holy. May your kingdom come, and may your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours forever and ever. Amen. 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 After the clown finished his prayer, he looked at the crowd and said with a smile, He, ladies and gentlemen, look, did I say this prayer very sincerely? These words not only you will say, but I will also say, and as you can see, in fact, I am also a devout Christian. So, please hurry up and sing. Joker shook his pistol and pointed at the crowd while laughing. Facing the fear of death, someone finally couldn't bear it anymore, when the first trembling hymn Hallelujah sounded in the crowd. The hymn sounded completely With the beginning of the first man, the story after that will be smooth, just like Judas betrayed Jesus, and a great work will be born. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Couple came to Bethlehem expecting child. They searched the inn to find a for you were coming soon. There was no room for them to stay, so in a manger filled with hay, God's only Son was born. Oh, hallelujah! Hallelujah, 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 with a voice of praise to the Lord, with this sacred music. The clown also began to dance. His face was intoxicated, dancing in this sacred hymn, while walking to the pulpit in front of the church. Chapter 77 Arthur and -039's hysterical roar. On the seat of the church. After Nick Fury watched the scene in front of him, he took a deep breath and looked at the dancing clown on the podium. He couldn't help clenching the gun in his hand. The gun in his hand was different. It was created by scientists in the S.H.E.L.L.D. science department using the energy of the cosmic Rubik's Cube. Although this gun has extremely powerful power, it also has defects. The energy is not very stable, so it can only fire one shot. At present, there are only a few high-tech equipment created by using the energy of the universe Rubik's Cube. Nick Fury himself does not trust such unstable weapons. If Nick Fury is not really cruel this time, he will never break his principles. Nick Fury took a deep breath, calmed down, and looked at the clown with a very serious expression. He must seize the moment to shoot. On the pulpit in front of the church, in the sacred hymn, the clown danced a frantic dance, opened his eyes, turned his head to look at Nick Fury, the only audience member in the church. A smile appeared on his face and said very tenderly, "Oh, Mr. Nick Fury, you really surprised me. I didn't expect you to actually find this place. I think you must have spent a lot of time. And you are so calm that you can let me finish this dance. You must know that I was so scared when I was dancing. I always thought you would shoot me at any time. And what makes me very curious is that you would come alone, which is really incredible. I always thought you were a timid person like a mouse, and full of doubts in your heart. I really didn't think you could do it with such a bold decision, Mr. Nick Fury, you really excite me." Nick Fury heard the words, smiled, and said, "Mr. Clown, I'm not here to catch you, but to have a good chat with you. I'm very curious about the birth process of the clown, you know. You used to be a very ordinary, very kind man, Mr. Arthur." Of course, if Nick Fury didn't have the gun clenched tightly in his hand when he said this, it would have been more real, more like a good conversation. The Joker didn't care about Nick Fury's actions. He laughed, blinked, and said, He, Arthur. That's a very familiar name. It's been a long time since I heard this name. As for how do you become a clown? Nick Fury, I think you should already be very clear. You already know Arthur's name. You should also know his full story. Now you want me to show my scars and make you a joke. Nick Fury shook his head, took a deep breath, and said slowly, "Mr. Clown, don't you think the things you've done are too much? Do you really have no compassion at all? I know Arthur's life was unfortunate, but it's definitely not the right way for you to impose these misfortunes on others. You killed Teresa with your own hands and sewed her head into Patrick's neck. Since then, it has intensified. So far, according to the data in our hands, according to incomplete statistics, you have killed at least 723 people, the youngest being a 6-year-old girl, and the oldest is an 84-year-old man. Joker, do you think you're doing the right thing? Joker, do you think it's funny that you kill those people? Is it funny?" The Joker shrugged, smiled, and said in a very calm tone, "Yes, isn't this funny? Isn't it worth laughing? And I'm really tired of pretending it's boring. Comedy is very subjective, Fury. As long as I think it's funny, isn't that what people say? All of y'all, the system formed is omniscient, and you decide what is right and what is wrong, just as you decide what is interesting, nothing boring." Nick Fury frowned and said, "So, do you want to break the system? You want to make a great change. That's why you want to spread the laughter virus. You want to be a symbol, a totem. A spirit? You want everyone to be a lunatic like you. You want to be admired by lunatics. You want to be the king of the underworld in New York. No, you want to be the real king of New York. The Joker shook his head, smiled, and said, "Come on, Nick Fury. Do I look like one of those clowns who can make a difference? I killed those guys because they were bad people. Now, everyone is bad. That's enough to drive anyone crazy." Nick Fury clenched his teeth, looked at the clown viciously, and said, "Okay, I understand. This is the reason you gave yourself to kill innocent people. A 6-year-old girl and an 84-year-old man turned out to be bad guy. I think you're a lunatic." The clown smiled and said, "No, if the little girl and the old man didn't sing out of tune, they wouldn't die." The Joker paused, sighed, looked at Nick Fury, at the priests and nuns who were still singing hymns, and exclaimed with great emotion, "Oh, why are you all feeling so sorry for these guys? What? If I died on the side of the road, you would just walk by me. I pass by you every day, and you wouldn't notice me. But these guys, what? Just because City Councilman Jake expressed his pity for them on TV." Nick Fury took a deep breath, spoke slowly, and asked, "Why don't you agree with Jake's opinion?" The Joker nodded and continued, "Yes, I do." "Did he look outside, Nick Fury? Did he actually leave his office?" Everyone was yelling at each other, screaming, "Civilized. It's gone." No one puts themselves in other people's shoes. Do you think someone like Jake would care about the situation of someone like me? Empathy rather than selfishness. They won't. They think we'll just sit there and accept reality like good kids. They think we won't turn into werewolves and become wild. Nick Fury looked at the Joker and said, "You're done? I mean, you're too self-pity, Arthur. You sound like you're making excuses for killing those young people. Not everyone it's the bad guy. Mr. Jake, the city councilor you just mentioned, is a good man. He has always been an idol for young people in the United States. He made Stark Industries give up a lot of arms deals. He contributed to world peace. He stopped a lot of pollution, has made the society shut down polluting enterprises. He donates a lot of property every year to the poor." After the clown heard this, he burst into laughter and burst into tears. He bent down with a smile, pointed at Nick Fury, and shouted hysterically, "Yes, he's a good man. But why didn't he save him? Me? A guy with a glow like him, a guy like him like the sun. Why doesn't he go and shine his light on Hell's Kitchen? Why didn't his donation go to Hell's Kitchen? Instead, the weapons produced by Stark Industries appeared in Hell's Kitchen. Company closed because of pollution. Yes, finally a large chemical company came to Hell's Kitchen, and it was forcibly closed because of pollution. We lowly people never care about serious pollution, but you don't leave us a little bit a chance to survive. Jake, he is the worst and worst person. He is the most hypocritical in the eyes of you people. The people in Hell's Kitchen don't deserve to be called people. They are scum. No one cares if they live or die. Nick Fury, you're a bad guy too. You're a too. Nick Fury, you clenched the gun in your hand. On the surface, you said you wanted to have a good talk with me, but in fact you wanted me to relax or thinking about killing me all the time. Chapter 78 Cut Off a Head. Nick Fury, are you a good person? No, when I walked into the church and shot those priests and nuns for the first time, you didn't stand up to stop it. Now, you won't stop either, will you? Ha ha ha, a good person is really cheap now, and anyone can say that he is a good person. After the clown finished speaking, he took out a pistol from his arms, aimed it at the priest and nun who were singing praises, and shot frantically. Bang, bang, bang with the sound of gunshots. One after another fell to the ground, and beautiful roses bloomed on those corpses. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. The holy hymn of praise to the Lord also came to an abrupt end. Nick Fury gritted his teeth and watched the Joker's behavior. Although he was very angry, he really wouldn't stop it. Because Nick Fury has not found a chance yet, he only has one chance to make a shot. As the Joker just said, Nick Fury is not a good person. The clown emptied the pistol, left the pistol casually on the ground, untied his clothes, opened it to Nick Fury, looked at Nick Fury with scarlet eyes, and said with a big laugh, "Nick Fury. Mr. Ray, shoot. Now you should be able to shoot. I don't have any weapons on my body anymore. I think you can shoot with confidence this time. As you can see, I don't have any means of resistance, don't I?" Nick Fury took a deep breath, stared into the Joker's eyes, and said slowly, "Joker, I don't think you would choose to die like this. I can't believe what a lunatic said." "How can a lunatic like you choose to die so easily?" "Mr. Nick Fury, you're right. We really shouldn't believe what a lunatic says, Joker. He's really evil." A young man in a brown suit, carrying a blood-covered, seriously injured middle-aged agent who didn't know whether to live or die, walked into the church slowly and said slowly. The young man gently put the seriously injured middle-aged agent on the ground, smiled and nodded to Nick Fury, and said, "Hello, Mr. Nick Fury. Let me introduce myself. My name is Jerome, a detective and a villain hunter. Well, I'm still a vigilante. I've tracked down the clown for a long time, and I finally found the clown today. This Mr. Agent should be one of yours. I rescued him in Hell's Kitchen, but he is likely to die, and he is likely to be dead because his injuries are too serious. By the way, Mr. Nick Fury, I'm still a superpower. I'm going to fight the clown now. You take the opportunity to find the opportunity to shoot him." After saying that, Jerome turned around, turned his head, and walked towards the clown slowly. Although Nick Fury has doubts in his heart, it is a blessing to have friendly troops to arrive at this moment, and this young man looks very decent, and he looks righteous and awe-inspiring, and he should be able to trust him a little. However, could he be that mysterious mechanical voice? Nick Fury quickly reminded, "Please be careful, the clown is very scary." Then Nick Fury hurried to the middle-aged agent. He recognized at a glance that the middle-aged agent was none other than his most loyal subordinate, Coulson. After Nick Fury checked Coulson's injury, he couldn't help frowning, his expression suddenly very serious. "Mother, how did Coulson get hurt like this?" "I'm afraid it has been dead for almost an hour." Nick Fury hurriedly fed the potion he carried to Coulson. "And now the dead horse can only be used as a living horse doctor." On the pulpit in front of the church, Jerome raised his head and looked at the clown standing on the stage, with a smile on his lips, and said with great justice, "Joker, today is the day you die. I will kill you with my own hands, and I will comfort you with your blood. Those wicked souls who died in vain, Father, I will send you to hell with my own hands." The Joker looked at the audience. Jerome in a brown suit blinked his eyes and laughed wildly. "Ahaho, boy, I really want to see how you're going to kill me." Jerome jumped up on the podium, clenched his fists, laughed and rushed towards the clown, saying with great justice, "Aha, of course I killed you with my fists. Clown, I will kill you with my fists. You were beaten to death, and your dirty, dark soul was sent to hell to make amends for those innocent lives." The Joker reached out and grabbed the incoming fist, twisted it hard, and then threw Jerome to the ground with an over-the-shoulder throw, and then he rode on Jerome's body, and after a punch slammed into Jerome's face, causing Jerome's head to bleed and his face covered in blood. Under the powerful attack of the clown, and feeling the pain, Jerome's face showed a crazy smile, and then his body rose to high temperature, burning flames. The clown was exposed to the scorching heat. He screamed in pain, and got up quickly. He looked at Jerome, who was covered in flames, and said with a strange smile, It's really hot. Boy, you burnt. I bought my suit. This suit cost me 2 bullets to buy. You must remember to compensate." Jerome stood up slowly, stretched out his hand to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth, hooked his fingers at the clown, twisted his neck, and said, "The strength is really strong, but it was just a warm-up just now. Now the warm-up is over. Really the war is coming." The clown nodded and said with a smile, "Indeed. The real war is coming after all." The two continued to entangle and beat together, and they fought very anxiously. The Joker gripped Jerome's fiery fist fiercely, and his hand burned with a scorching scent. But the Joker didn't care about his injury at all. He slowly put his head close to Jerome's ear, he smiled, and whispered, "Hey, boy, your skills are still a little worse, but not knowing why you gave me a sense of intimacy and fear. I think one of the two of us will die tonight." The flame in Jerome's hand suddenly burned even bigger, and he slammed his head into the clown's face, and his face was stained with white paint. Jerome smiled and replied in a low voice, "No, Mr. Arthur, there is still a fundamental difference between me and you. You are a lunatic, but I am not a lunatic." After that, Jerome hugged the Joker fiercely, with a big smile on his face, and shouted at Nick Fury, "Mr. Nick Fury, it's time to shoot." Nick Fury heard the words and pulled the trigger fiercely. Even without Jerome's reminder, he would pull the trigger at this time, but he had been paying attention to the fight between the two. Because this is really the best time, and it's the time that Nick Fury has been waiting for. The blue energy light shot out from the gun in Nick Fury's hand, and the light full of cosmic cube energy hit the clown's body and accurately hit the clown's heart. The clown's heart stopped beating. He leaned on Jerome's ear and whispered, "I foresaw my own death, but not you. In fact, I was able to break free and escape, but I didn't, my child. I think this baptism should be for you. I just hope my death makes more sense than my life." After saying that, the clown turned around suddenly. He stared into Nick Fury's eyes. He opened his mouth, laughed wildly, and said, "Ahaha, cut off one head, and grow two more heads to replace it. Kill one clown. There will be another clown at the same time." The clock also pointed to 4:05, and the clown fell on the pulpit. This was the time of baptism set by the clown, and it was also the resurrection day of the Lord. On this day, the clown died. Chapter 79, the final chapter. Let the time come to 5 minutes ago. On the top floor of the Statue of Liberty, the vampire Patrick slowly stood up. He walked slowly out of the window and onto the torch that had been held high in the hands of the Statue of Liberty. He opened a pair of broken bat wings, touched Teresa's face gently with his hand, pointed to the brightly lit sky in the distance, and said with a smile, "Teresa, let's see together." "Son." Teresa nodded, buried her head on Patrick's neck, kissed his side face, smiled and said, "Okay, Pat, let's go see the sun together." Patrick nodded, smiled, and jumped from the torch held high in the hands of the Statue of Liberty. He flapped his battered bat wings and flew towards the slowly rising sun. It was his first time chasing the sun and his last time chasing the sun. 5 minutes later, it's 4:05. The sun finally showed its head, and it began to spread its brilliance and began to illuminate everything in the world. Patrick and Teresa burned to death in the sun. The ugly but gentle monster died in the sun. It turned into a sky full of fireworks, turned into an incomparably beautiful fireworks, and the laughter virus they were full of was burning out. At this moment, Hill watched Patrick burn completely into flames, watched Patrick disappear under the light of the sun, and watched the sky full of fireworks. She pressed the headset lightly with her hand, took a deep breath, and said with a smile, "We have won. We have successfully prevented the collapse of the Statue of Liberty and the clown's conspiracy. We guarded America's hope. We guarded freedom. Freedom shines on the world." As soon as Hill finished speaking, the Statue of Liberty burst into warm applause and cheers, and every agent shouted and screamed loudly. In the S.H.E.L.D. hidden in the air, warm applause and cheers erupted. Under the leadership of William, the members of the technical department began to celebrate loudly. Only Jason's face was a little disappointed, which was out of tune with this cheerful atmosphere. He was still thinking about the smiling Chief Kelson. "I wonder what's going on with Mr. Coulson now." Jason put his hands together and made a prayer, hoping that Chief Coulson would be safe and alive. Seeing this, Sky slowly walked to Jason's side, reached out and patted his shoulder, and said with a smile, "Jason, I believe that Mr. Coulson will be fine." Jason sighed, and he said very reproachfully, "Minister Sky, I don't think I have done anything, and I have hardly contributed to this operation." When Sky heard the words, his face was a little stiff. He sneered and comforted, If it weren't for the mysterious person you sent, the Statue of Liberty would really be blown up. It's like I'm Sky who really didn't do anything. Sky was extremely depressed. She was the one who really didn't do anything. Damn, why isn't there a single enemy in St. John's Cathedral? St. John's Cathedral. The clown's body fell on the podium. His face was facing out of the window, and on the slightly lit sky outside the window, fireworks suddenly burst out. It was a very beautiful fireworks. The clown looked out the window in a trance, and seemed to flash the face of a clown in a purple suit. I just hope my death makes more sense than my life. He couldn't tell whether it was an illusion or the truth. He smiled with satisfaction and died smiling. Nick Fury took a deep breath and walked slowly to the clown's side, after repeatedly confirming that the clown was really dead. He turned to look at Jerome, who was covered in flames, smiled, and said, "Thank you so much just now. If it weren't for Mr. Jerome's help, the clown would probably have escaped today. I don't have the confidence to hit him. However, I'm also a little curious. How did Mr. Jerome know my identity? Where did you hear my name?" Hearing this, Jerome slowly extinguished the flames burning on his body, sighed deeply, looked at Nick Fury, and said with a smile, "Mr. Nick Fury, there is no airtight wall in the world. Your name is very loud. To survive in America, we psychics need to know something important. If only one wants to find out. Where's the news that can't be found?" "I'm right, Mr. Nick Fury." Nick Fury nodded and asked, "That's true. As long as you want to inquire, you will be able to inquire. By the way, Mr. Jerome, I think you will emit a flame, or a very high-temperature flame. May I ask you a mutant?" Jerome shook his head and smiled. "I'm not a mutant, just a normal human with some abilities." After listening to Nick Fury, he smiled and said, "In this case, does Mr. Jerome want to consider joining S.H.E.L.L.D? Jerome shook his head and refused. "Well, I haven't thought about joining S.H.E.L.D or any organization for the time being. I'm used to freedom. I've always been alone, and I'm not used to joining any organization. However, Mr. Nick Fury, I think we are in the same camp, and we are all just. Didn't we cooperate very well just now? I believe we will meet again, and we will defeat difficult enemies together again. Of course, we can leave a contact information for each other. If S.H.E.L.D really encounters any difficult enemies, feel free to come to me now." Nick Fury nodded, and after exchanging contact information with Jerome, he stared at Jerome with his only one eye, and asked with a smile, "Mr. Jerome, do you know Marvel?" After hearing this, Jerome frowned and shook his head in confusion. He asked with a puzzled face, "Marvel? What Marvel?" Nick Fury smiled and said, "Mr. Jerome, I mean, our cooperation today is a marvel." Hearing the words, Jerome nodded and laughed loudly. "Haha, if you say that, it's really a marvel. Then let's get over it, Mr. Director." After all, Jerome slowly left St. John's Cathedral and disappeared into the just bright night. He covered his face with his hands, and his face was filled with an incomparably crazy laugh. He wiped the white paint from the clown's face on his mouth, and whispered softly, "From now on, I'm Joker." Nick Fury frowned as he looked at Jerome, who was leaving. He didn't know Marvel, which meant he didn't know Carol Danvers. It seems that he is not the mysterious person, so who is the mysterious man? Nick Fury took a deep breath and looked at the corpse of the clown lying on the podium. His face instantly became extremely serious, and his expression was also very depressed. The voice of the clown before his death echoed in his mind all the time. "Ha, cut off one head and grow 2 more heads to replace it. Kill a clown. There will be another clown." Nick Fury gritted his teeth and cursed angrily. "Mother Hydra." Queens, New York. Ingram Street Villa. Zhou ran, who woke up from his sleep, went to the toilet, looked at the fireworks outside the window, smiled, and said with emotion, "These fireworks are still beautiful, but it's strange to set off fireworks at this time. This day it's going to light up soon." Zhou ran looked at the clock. "Is it 4:05? He suddenly remembered a very interesting and inspiring story in his previous life. Have you ever seen New York at 4 in the morning? Zhou chuckled and said, well, in New York at 4 o'clock in the morning, not only people go to play basketball, but some people may also set off fireworks. After all, Zhou turned around and went back to the bed and went back to sleep. He was going to attend the military awards ceremony tomorrow. There were so many things going on. If he could sleep a little longer, that would be a while. Chapter 80, Dialogue in Spiritual Space. In the dark spiritual space. The clown was wearing a purple suit. He suddenly covered his nose, cried loudly, and said with great sadness, "Woo woo woo, this is really a beautiful fireworks show. Arthur, my child, father, for you are proud hearing this." Zhou as I pushed his glasses, his eyes were scarlet, his hands clasped together, and he murmured, "Namo Amitabha." Then he smiled and said slowly, "Mr. Clown, this grand performance has really benefited me a lot. This is really a performance full of great compassion, great benevolence and love. I feel that my dharma has also been improved, and I am more sure of the path I want to take. From today, I will carefully study the Keisha primordial vows. If hell is not empty, I vow not to become a Buddha. The white dove in hell, Arthur, the white dove that flew out of hell's kitchen, will definitely have a great impact on this world in the future. Well, and what Arthur said is quite right. A person who shines like Zhou should really shine his light into hell's kitchen. In the future, I will incarnate the light of mercy and shine on hell's kitchen of compassion shines on the world. Namo Amitabha. After hearing this, Hannibal shook his head. He stood up and walked slowly to the clown's side. Following Arthur's example, he began to dance around the clown in a frantic dance. Dancing wildly, he shook his head and sang the holy hymn, "Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah." It's just that Hannibal's eyes were not filled with admiration, but full of jokes and ridicule. After a dance, Hannibal put his hand carefully on the shoulder of the Joker. He grinned, showing sharp teeth, smiled, and said slowly, "Dear Joker, here is all of us." Man, don't pretend to cry, but you haven't shed a single tear. Isn't the clown a sad story? Am I right? After the clown heard this, he looked at Hannibal and symbolically wiped the fake tears that didn't come out with his hands, sighed deeply, and said, "Well, Mr. Hannibal, you know what? I hate smart people like you. You are so disruptive, and such a sad atmosphere is interrupted by you, Mr. Hannibal. You really made me a little embarrassed. Well, it's not a good thing to use the knowledge of psychology on your brother." Hannibal blinked, looked at the clown with a big laugh, and said, "Joker, you know what? From the beginning to the end, I feel that you are my most special brother, because you are the most special brother in this darkness. The one born first. What you do must be meaningful. So, my eyes will always be placed on you involuntarily. I can't help but observe you all the time. Joker, can you tell me why you did this?" Having said that, Hannibal looked at the clown with a smile on his face. Zhou also turned his head to look at the clown. A red light flashed in his eyes. In fact, he was also very curious. It sounded a bit interesting seeing this. The clown laughed loudly, shook his head, and said, "Ha ha ha, brothers, this is actually very simple, not as complicated as you think. I just want to add a little fun to this world." Hannibal smiled and continued to ask, "Joker, is it really just for a little fun?" "I don't really believe it." The Joker sighed and looked at Hannibal and Zhou. This time he didn't smile. His expression was extremely serious. He slowly said, "Jake, he is my god. I must be with him as one. At that time, there will be no more Jokers here. I only hope that after I leave, there will be another Joker in this world, so that when Jake sees him, it is like seeing me." The clown paused, with a crazy smile on the corner of his mouth, and continued, "By the way, Hannibal, let me tell you a secret. I am not the only one born in this darkness. There is another one. The brother is always there, but he is not too talkative also. I think another brother is about to be born. He just needs a little stimulation." When Hannibal heard the words, he couldn't help but startled for a while, and laughed loudly. "Ha ha ha, I didn't expect that there is a brother who has been hiding all the time. This is really a pleasant surprise." And there will be new people born. Sure enough, Joker, I read it right. You are really different from us. You know more than we do. I'm curious about why you were born. I'm hungry. Joker, what are you? What kind of power are you? Joker, you always say you're chaos, but to be honest, I really don't believe it. When the clown heard this, he clenched his fists and hit Hannibal in the face so hard that Hannibal's face was covered in blood, and he knocked Hannibal to the ground. The clown looked down at Hannibal. His expression was extremely hideous, and he laughed wildly. Mr. Ogre, don't ask about other people's affairs. Even if we are brothers, I have a way to kill you, Mr. Ogre. Friendly reminder, don't be curious about me. This is the first time. If there is another time, I will really kill you. However, so far, I really haven't said a single lie to my brothers. I'm really a mess. If you still don't believe me, Mr. Ogre, then there's nothing I can do. Hannibal was lying on the ground covered in blood, looking at the face painted in pale white paint, at the face painted with bright red paint, laughing. Hannibal stared at the clown's black hole-like eyes that were always full of temptation, and he coughed up a mouthful of blood. Then, Hannibal slowly got up from the ground, smiling all over his face, and said flatteringly, Okay, great Mr. Joker, I understand. Hannibal promises you with his personality that he will never do it again next time. After that, Hannibal snapped his fingers and turned into a table of delicious food. He shook the red wine in his hand and smiled. Joker, have a drink together. We are all brothers. Forgive me this time. The clown nodded, sat on the chair, smiled and said, Okay, Mr. Hannibal, let's have a drink together. Seeing this, I couldn't help shaking his head. It is enough for people to understand their own meaning in life, and it is not bad to understand the true meaning of their life. Always thinking about the meaning of other people's lives, it is really walking down the path and entering the narrow gate. Cultivation. The last thing to cultivate is a heart. No bodhi tree, nor stand mirror. Originally there is nothing, where is the dust? Zai closed his eyes, clasped his hands together, and murmured Namo Amitabha. Then he started to recite the Kshitigarbha Primordial Wish Sutra silently and realized his own way. Hey, Zio, won't you come to eat some? This kind of food can't relieve my hunger, and last time I was full. Chapter 81. The End of Arthur and S.H.E.L.L.D's Death. The baptism that Arthur the Clown personally customized and this grand fireworks show customized by himself finally ended. With his death as the end, the performance was completely brought to the curtain. Arthur the Joker has never been afraid of his own death. From the day he became the Joker, from the time he killed Teresa, he had nothing to fear, and he had nothing to fear anymore. After becoming a clown, every day has been an incredible joy for him. Every day is great. It's not that Arthur wants to be a clown, but as long as that hell is still there, he has to be a clown, and only by being a clown can he be truly happy. Arthur chose to embrace the darkness and cruelty in his heart and release the purest kindness that had been suppressed in his heart. Clowns are not villains, are they? Human beings cannot lock up cruelty because their nature is cruel. Mankind cannot lock up darkness because the darkness is in their hearts. Human beings cannot resist despair because they are inherently weak. So, in the end, Arthur chose not to be a human being. He chose to be a clown. Even if he died in the end, he never regretted it. Because he died as a clown, that was enough for him. As he said before his death, I just hope my death makes more sense than my life. Arthur only hoped that his death was more meaningful than his life. Before he died, he saw the next clown, saw the work he created, saw his own child, saw Jerome, and in a trance, he also saw the Lord who gave him a new life and guided him to become the Lord of Clowns. He was really happy. He knew that at that moment he was recognized. At that moment he really became a clown, and his death meant a lot. For Arthur, this baptism was over, but for S.H.E.L.L.D and for Nick Fury, it was just the beginning. Hidden in the sky on an aircraft carrier. S.H.E.L.L.D. Director's Office. At this moment, 3 or 4 hours have passed since the Joker died. Nick Fury looked at the action report on the table for the long night. He slumped on the chair with a pipe in his mouth and began to puff on the cigarette. He wanted to use a lot of nicotine to numb his nerves to relieve his fatigue and anxiety. However, some anxiety cannot be relieved with nicotine, even with morphine. Just like the anxiety in Nick Fury's heart now, nicotine can't be resolved at all, and no drug can resolve it. Yes, Nick Fury, he's anxious. He's so anxious now. He feels like he's wrapped tightly around his body with a huge, unbelievable anxiety. He felt a terrible shadow coming towards him, and there was something indescribable watching him, which made him feel breathless and suffocated. Nick Fury suddenly discovered that since he started investigating the clown, everything has changed, and S.H.E.L.D has unknowingly fallen into an extremely passive situation, as if all of this, including what happened tonight, was forced is going on. As if S.H.E.L.D did not take the initiative to intervene at all. Everything was beyond his judgment. Right now, the development of the clown thing has completely surpassed his control. It is really different from what he imagined and the ending he imagined. The Joker's video mail, the Mad Black Widow, the corpse alive inside the Statue of Liberty, the madman smiling face Coulson saw before he died, stop the Statue of Liberty from exploding and mention the mysterious mechanical voice of Carol Danvers, the secret party vampires, the laughing virus, the mysterious substance that can make the human body explode, slogan cut off a head, grow 2 more heads to replace them, kill a clown, and there will be another clown. All these things put together, it is too complicated. Now, Nick Fury can't find a right direction. He can't solve the mystery. Moreover, he still has a lot of aftermath things to do. He needs to find out if there is any remnant of the laughing virus developed by the Joker. Has the laughter virus really been wiped out? What if the clown hides the laughing virus elsewhere? And what the clown said before his death was like a direct declaration that he was a Hydra. So, the clown should be the person of Hydra. This kind of unscrupulous and cruel killing is exactly the same as the Hydra. Is the clown a biological weapon secretly developed by those Hydras hiding in the dark? Mother damn Hydra. Also, Nick Fury, he still needs to investigate the mysterious mechanical voice that spoke the warning. He needs to find out who this mysterious man is. What conspiracy does this mysterious man have? What is his purpose? How could he know so much? How did he know about this mysterious man? Well, and this mysterious man also warned not to trace his identity, and warned S.H.E.L.D not to continue to make trouble, and the most important thing is that this mysterious man actually knew Carol Danvers. Kree or Stru? Both are possible. They both know Carol Danvers. It seems that I need to investigate the Stewans inside S.H.E.L.D. I seem to be a little too kind to them. If I didn't want to rely on them to resist the Kree, I really wanted to kill them all. There is also the clown's mutilated corpse that was shot by the cosmic cube energy and needs to be studied. Why are the corpses in the Statue of Liberty alive? They look a lot like the zombies in those apocalyptic stories, which also requires a bit of research. The abandoned chemical factory in Hell's Kitchen needs to be sent to investigate again to see if there are any clues left by the clown. Moreover, S.H.E.L.D has suffered a lot after the clown incident, and all the agents that Coulson took away were sacrificed. Although the dead Coulson was successfully resurrected by relying on the medicine developed by the genetic tissue of the Kree, he has now become a comatose vegetative person, and he does not know when he will wake up. There is also Black Widow, who is still in a coma and is still in a coma. At this moment, Nick Fury is really having a headache. He wants to hold everything in his hands, but he seems to screw it all up. After scolding Nick Fury slapped the table hard, and it wasn't over. He swore he'd figure it all out. 8 in the morning. The sun was already high at this time, and the streets of New York were full of traffic and people. The bustling New York has begun to be full of people and noisy. For the citizens of New York, last night was just a very peaceful night. After waking up, they still need to continue to be busy and continue to live. As for the door of the Statue of Liberty, there is an additional sign for maintenance, which will not cause people's attention because New York citizens have long been accustomed to this species overhaul. In front of St. John's Cathedral, there is also a sign prohibiting entry, and this one may have some irritable muttering sounds. Because yesterday was the cleaning day of St. John's Cathedral, the homeless people living here were kicked out. Today, the cleaning day finally passed, but they saw the sign that the door was closed and forbidden to enter, and the homeless people had to find another place now. Well, the deceased priests and nuns and the staff inside the Statue of Liberty, their relatives and families, will still go through a period of grief and pain of losing relatives. However, these pains will gradually disappear with the passage of time. Chapter 82. The awards ceremony officially begins. 8 o'clock in the morning. Ingram Avenue Villa, Queens, New York. The ding bell alarm sounded. Zhou ran, stretched, and sat up suddenly from the bed. He woke up unexpectedly once in the middle of the night. This should be the first time in his life, and the first time he fell asleep. After sleeping for a while, Zhou Ran felt that the spirit of the whole person was better. Then he went to the bathroom to wash briefly and picked out a red suit that looked very festive. I don't know why, but he likes red very much today. Probably because Tony Stark is going to be Iron Man after today's awards ceremony. Zhou Ran feels very happy now. He looked in the mirror and evenly smeared a little hair wax on his head. A very handsome back head shape would be fine, and it was very temperamental at first glance. A smile appeared at the corner of Zhou Ran's mouth. He stretched out his hand and snapped his fingers and gave a mouth shape to the mirror. I'm Iron Man. Then, Zhou Ran left the villa and drove towards the awards ceremony prepared by the military. On the way to the awards ceremony, Zhou Ran put on a Bluetooth headset while driving and called Tony with a smile, saying, "Hey, Tony, you haven't woken up yet. Don't forget the military today. The award ceremony is prepared and we have agreed to make Rhodes embarrassed." Tony Stark, who was driving a supercar at a high speed on the road, laughed and said very proudly, "No, Jake, you guessed wrong this time. I'm on the road now." No, thinking that I, Tony, turned out to be a person who did not keep promises in your eyes, but seeing the good idea you came up with yesterday, I don't have the same knowledge as you. Should we compare who's faster? Who's going to get to the awards show first? After hearing this, Zhou Ran stepped on the accelerator, smiled, and said, "Oh, Tony, do you want to compare the speed? Of course you can. Then come on. But there is a premise for this game. That is, to obey the traffic laws, but don't run red lights." Tony nodded, stepped on the accelerator hard, and a blue tail flame suddenly spewed out from the back of the supercar's exhaust pipe. Tony laughed and said, "Jake, you are sure to lose. My supercar has been modified by myself. In terms of speed, Tony's sports car is definitely the fastest in New York." Hearing this, Zhou Ran showed a smile on the corner of his mouth and said with great confidence, "Tony, the straights are not fast, but the corners are really fast." After all, Zhou Ran slammed the steering wheel hard and a handsome drift past the curve in front of him. In order to survive in this terrifying world, Zhou Ran, with his strong self-discipline, has fully practiced his driving skills. After all, when encountering danger, two legs can never run 4 rounds. Therefore, under the constraints of traffic rules, Zhou Ran is really confident that he will never lose to Tony Stark. Unless Tony Stark drives off and makes his car fly, Zhou Ran will never lose. An hour later, in front of the hotel where the military awards ceremony was held, Zhou Ran stood at the door of the hotel. He glanced at his watch, smiled, and said, "It's been 5 minutes and Tony should be here." Zhou Ran's voice just fell. A supercar drove fast in the distance and stopped at the door of the hotel. Tony got out of the car with a displeased face. He strode up to Zhou Ran and complained, "Oh, damn, Jake, you know, if it wasn't for that traffic light, I didn't run. I would never have run it just now. If you get stuck in traffic, then I'll definitely be there before you." Zhou pushed his glasses and said with a smile, "Okay, Tony, don't get angry about this little thing. You know that you are the protagonist today, and after the awards ceremony, don't forget we have a party with Rhodes." Tony nodded with a smile on the corner of his mouth, and said, "Of course. This is what attracts me the most today, otherwise I wouldn't come here. And Jake, your taste is very unique today. This red dress on your body, the suit, is really eye-catching and irritating. You will definitely be the most dazzling one in the audience today." After hearing this, Zhou shook his head and joked, "According to my experience over the years, as long as there is Tony Stark, there can only be one protagonist, and that is Tony Stark." While chatting and laughing, the two slowly walked into the hotel and found a place to sit in the front row. The two sat for 10 minutes. Lieutenant Colonel Rhodes in a military uniform walked slowly to the podium. On the award podium, a strange smile appeared on the corner of Lieutenant Colonel Rhodes' mouth. He gently pressed the remote control in his hand and said, "Let's watch a short video before the official award ceremony." A burst of music sounded, and then a short video was played on the big screen. Tony Stark, inventor, genius, patriot. Even at a very young age, the son of Howard Stark, the descendant of the legendary weapons developer, stole the limelight with his ingenuity. Designed my first circuit board at the age of 4. Designed a V8 engine at the age of 6. At the age of 17, he graduated from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology with the highest grades. After the tragic death of his great father, Howard Stark's lifelong ally, Obadiah stepped forward to fill the void left by the legendary founder. Until the 21-year-old prodigal son found his way back and took on the heavy responsibility of CEO of Stark Industries. After taking the leadership of the company, Tony brought his father's kingdom into a new era, developing smart weapons, advanced robotics, and satellite targeting systems. After that, at the age of 28, Tony got another strong arm, Jake Zhou, who graduated from New York University. Today, Tony Stark and Jake Week. Two people have made a huge change in the Stark industry, ushered in an unprecedented new era. The face of the weapons industry has a new look, and various convenience technologies have moved to the United States worldwide. Strongly safeguarded freedom and stability, and on a global scale, ensured national security and interests. After the short film, the awards ceremony was greeted with huge applause and cheers. Tony Stark touched his nose a little embarrassedly, looked at Zhou, sneered, and muttered in a low voice, "Jake, you know? It's so embarrassing. They always replay me designing circuit boards when I was 4 years old and designing V8 engines when I was 6 years old. And they also have pictures of me of all ages, the picture of me laughing with the circuit board. It's so stupid." After listening to Zhou, he smiled and mocked in a low voice, "Tony, I think the one holding the V8 engine is more shameful than the circuit board." Chapter 83. Obadiah. Jake, this is your last chance. Hearing this, Tony couldn't help rolling his eyes, gritted his teeth, and scolded, "Jake, wait for me. One day, I will make you feel ashamed yourself." Zhou shrugged, smiled, and said, "Oh, Tony, I'm really sorry. I think I shouldn't have any black material on the stage." Rhodes looked at Tony and Zhou, who were flirting. He stretched out his 2 hands and pressed down on the noisy applause and cheers, and said with a smile, "Gentlemen and ladies, I am honored to participate in this award ceremony and be responsible for the guests of the award. As a liaison officer for the military and Stark, it is my great honor to work with a true patriot who is my friend and my best teacher. Gentlemen and ladies, it is my great honor this year's Pinnacle Award goes to the esteemed Tony Stark." After all, Rhodes raised the trophy in his hand and looked at Tony, and the lights of the scene hit Tony's face. Tony Stark stood up slowly and walked to the podium amid applause and cheers. Tony took the trophy with a smile, gave Rhodes a warm hug, leaned on Rhodes' ear, and whispered, "Rod, if you can't get Jake drunk for a while, don't even think about it for the rest of your life. Seeing me at an awards ceremony in the military because it was so embarrassing." Rhodes coughed lightly and replied in a low voice, "Tony, don't worry. This matter is all covered by me, Rhodes." Tony smiled and said, Rod, it's better. Having said that, Tony left Rhod's arms with a smile on his face. He patted the microphone twice, shook the trophy in his hand, and looked at the audience under the stage. He started a very formulaic speech, Mr. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Tony Stark. I'm so happy, so moved, so honored to receive this annual Pinnacle Award. It's an emotion that words can't express, and I'm just so emotional at this moment. As you know, I, Tony Stark, usually loves my job very much, and usually don't attend any awards ceremony. If it wasn't for this award, I was really excited, and the guest of honor was my good brother Rhodes School. I won't be here. So, this award is really meaningful. Holding the trophy in my hand, I am so happy. I like peace. Looking at the podium, Tony Stark was serious, holding the trophy with a happy face and saying his acceptance speech. Zhou Ran could still see some complaints and perfunctory in his eyes, and there was a smile on his face. Clap, clap, clap. Zhou Ran stood up with a smile, raised his head and began to applaud. The entire award ceremony scene suddenly resounded with warm applause. Tony looked at Zhou Ran, who took the lead in coaxing, winked at him, raised the trophy in his hand, took a deep breath. A smile appeared on his face, and slowly said, Gentlemen and ladies, the trophy doesn't belong to me alone, Tony Stark. It belongs to my good brother, Mr. Jake. Then Tony shook Zhou Ran with the trophy and said with a smile, Come on, Jake. Come on stage and say a few words. How can such an important award be without my good brother Jake? This is something we can do together of. Hearing this, Zhou Ran felt helpless. He sighed and walked to the podium slowly. After a warm hug with Tony, he lowered his voice and whispered in Tony's ear, Hi, Mr. Tony Stark. I have to say, you are really boring. You know, this kind of speech doesn't bother me at all. Tony smiled and replied, No, Jake. You think too much. I just don't want to be alone, and I think it's a shame that your red suit today won't be on the cover of tomorrow's magazine. After hearing this, Zhou Ran took Tony's trophy, smiled, and said, Gentlemen and ladies, I'm just like Tony. We both love peace. This award ceremony was organized by the military for Tony. I came up to speak, which is to some extent a share of Tony's glory. Here, I'm very grateful to Tony for giving me the opportunity to perform. Here, I would like to say a few words from my heart. Gentlemen and ladies, to tell the truth, if I hadn't been fortunate enough to meet Tony Stark, there would not be Mr. Jake, who is well known in New York and even in America today, so I'm really grateful to Tony Stark. Mr. K, I will dedicate my life to Stark Industries. And, no matter what happens in the future, I will always stand by Tony Stark's side. After hearing this, Tony was very moved. He put his arm around Zhou Ran's shoulder and said with a big smile, Gentlemen and ladies, when my father Howard Stark found someone he could trust for life, Jarvis. Now I, Tony Stark, have found someone I can trust for life, Zhou Ran, Jake. Crack, click the voice sounded. The reporters at the scene began to take pictures one after another. This is a very important moment, and this moment will definitely make headlines tomorrow. And they have already thought about the headlines of the news headlines. The trophy is shining, and the person who holds the cup together is even more shining than the trophy, the most precious friendship in the world, Jake. I will always stand by Tony Stark's side, grip of the century. Tony Stark and his most important person, inheritance of fire, Howard Stark and Tony Stark both found the man they hit. Tony Stark, Zhou Ran, and Rhodes walked off the podium together. The three of them crossed their shoulders, talking and laughing, and they were very happy watching. Under the podium, Obadiah, who was sitting in the crowd, looked at the three people who were talking and laughing. He lowered his head, clenched his fists fiercely, and the expression on his face was very cruel and vicious. Tony, don't blame me. You really made my uncle sad. I, Obadiah, is the boss of Stark Industries. Without me, Obadiah, I would have stood up and become the Optimus Prime of Stark Industries. Stark Industries is now long gone now. You Tony Stark actually crossed the river and demolished the bridge. But don't blame me for being ruthless. I was also forced by you. When you get on the plane tomorrow and arrive in Afghanistan, I'll do it right away. And Jake, you're so determined to be on the side of Tony Stark's kid, which makes me appreciate you even more, and I love your loyal character. I will give you one last chance. I hope that after Tony Stark is gone, you can continue to remain loyal to Stark Industries. I hope you can choose to play for me, Obadiah. Jake, this is the last chance I give you. I hope you can make the right choice. Don't make fun of yourself and choose a dead end. Clap, clap, clap. Obadiah slowly raised his head with a very happy expression on his face. He laughed and applauded to celebrate for the three. Chapter 84 Nausea 1 Norman Osborn and Justin Hammer. When he got down from the podium and returned to his seat, Tony felt uncomfortable all over and couldn't sit still. The two of him sitting on the left and right didn't look like he was going to leave at all. He felt as if he had been deceived. Tony took a deep breath, looked at the two, and said impatiently, "Hey, two, how long do we need to stay? It's so boring here, and isn't the award ceremony already over? Send the trophy to me. Wouldn't this end in my hands? This is not the same as what we agreed on. Didn't you two say you would leave after receiving the trophy? Jake, when did you two put on a pair of pants, Rhodes?" Zhou coughed lightly and said, "Tony, we need to wait for a while. There are still a few people to accept the award. The most important thing is that we are very familiar with both Norman Osborn and Justin Hammer. On the invitation letter, this is our old rival and needs to be observed." Rhodes nodded and continued, "Well, at the end of the award ceremony, General Ross will also make a concluding speech. You know that there is a leader like General Ross, and it's not good for me to leave. Tony, look at the pattern on my shoulder. I'm a lieutenant colonel now. If a lieutenant colonel doesn't give face to lieutenant generals, I'm afraid I don't want to mix in the future. Besides, you can see that the waiters have already started serving the dishes. When the meal is finished, the awards ceremony is over." After hearing this, Tony gritted his teeth and said regretfully, "Damn it, I shouldn't have come. Oh, the previous awards ceremony was not so troublesome. The two of you are really troublesome. Don't miss us." A reception for three. Listening to Tony's complaint, Rhodes explained with a smile, "After all, this is the annual Peak Award. Tony, you have never come to this kind of Peak Award before. This is not only an awards ceremony, but also a meeting for the entire New York arms industry, an opportunity for big and small businesses to get to know each other, an exchange of interests, and a peaceful banquet. The military attaches great importance to this banquet, and also having Tony, getting to know some people, is always useful to you." Hearing this, Tony shrugged. He was very proud and said very proudly, "No, I don't need Tony Stark to take the initiative to know them. On the contrary, they will take the initiative to come to know me. To know the weight of the name Tony Stark in New York in the United States, they will definitely say a lot of good things to me in a while, and they will also praise me Tony Stark loudly." Tony paused, changed the conversation, and continued, "Actually, they will definitely say a lot of very ugly things behind their backs, which is their usual style, especially those of Norman Osborn and Justin Hammer. An old fox." After hearing this, Zhou nodded, winked at Tony, and said with a smile, "Don't worry, Tony, this will definitely not miss the reception for the three of us. However, I still have to deal with them and perfunctory them later. There's no way, that's how business is, whether you hate it or not. It's still to be done in the end. Besides, you don't need to deal with these things. I'm still here." Tony smiled and said, "So, Jake, I'm very lucky to meet you. Having you here has really solved a lot of my troubles." When Rhodes heard the words, he smiled and said, "It's true, Tony, you are really lucky, you know. When I was in the army, I really hoped to meet a good helper like Jake, good brother. After listening to Zhou Ran, he pushed his glasses and said with a smile, Tony, Rhodes, let's cooperate well for a while, and then give Norman Osborn and Justin Hammer a good show. Make me sick. These two old foxes, and then the three of us will have a good drink. What are these two old foxes most worried about? Tony, you must know, our dream fund is still a little short, and this is a great opportunity to rip off. After listening to Zhou Ran's words, Tony and Rhodes looked at each other, smiled, and said in unison, Good, Jake, this is really a good idea. Then the three laughed and chatted for a while, probably about 10 minutes. The two old foxes, Norman Osborn and Justin Hammer, really came over. At first glance, the two of them saw that the good ones didn't come, and the bad ones didn't come. Although there is a smile on his face, Chun-Chun is the weasel who is uneasy and kind to the chicken. On the bright side, it looked like a friendly greeting, but in fact, the two of them came to test the tone of Stark Industries. After all, Osborne Industries and Hammer Industries are worried, and Stark Industries has again signed a large number of weapons orders with the military. Stark Industries cancelled a large number of weapons orders before, which made Osborne Industries and Hammer Industries simply happy. Never thought that such an unexpected good thing could happen? Now Tony Stark's sudden appearance at an awards ceremony held by the military is not a good sign for both Norman Osborn and Justin Hammer. Who knows if the swinger is repent again? Who knows if this swinger has gone back on his word again? This Tony Stark has a criminal record. When this swinger first took over Stark Industries, he did a lot of nonsense. Therefore, Norman Osborn and Justin Hammer are very worried. This is so hard to eat the fat in the mouth, and now it is about to spit out. Who can stand it? Only the enemy knows the enemy best. Zhou Ran knew exactly what these two old foxes had come to do, and Stark Industries had indeed abandoned a large number of weapon orders. This big piece of cake is divided up is nothing for Stark Industries. Although it has an impact, it is definitely not that huge. However, if you can disgust your competitors, why not disgust them? You must know that these two old foxes have deliberately fought against Stark Industries for many years. Norman Osborn and Justin Hammer slowly walked in front of Zhou Ran and the three of them, and they directly found a chair and sat down. Norman raised the glass in his hand, smiled, and praised without hesitation. Hi, Tony, Jake, it's such a pleasure to meet you. It's my honor. By the way, when I came here just now, I also read this morning's newspaper. The idea of a dream proposal is really great. We, Osborne Industries, absolutely support this matter. Should the three of us work together? Justin, he thinks the same way as I do. Justin nodded and smiled. Yes, it can help more people realize their dreams. This is indeed what we big industries and big entrepreneurs should do. After hearing this, Tony applauded and said with a smile, That's great. This should be the best news I've heard recently. We Stark Industries have prepared 10 billion in cash this time, Osborne Industries. And Hammer Industries is the same as us, each with 10 billion in cash. Hearing this, Norman took a breath and asked in shock, Tony, it's really 10 billion in cash. Isn't this a bit too much? Zhou Ran pushed his glasses and said with a smile, Mr. Norman, if both Osborne Industries and Hammer Industries join in this matter, then we Stark Industries don't have to work so hard. You know that this time in order to complete the dream proposal this project, we have negotiated a huge order with the military. After hearing this, Justin frowned, the flesh on his face was trembling, and he asked very nervously, But last month, Stark Industries' official website didn't say that for the cause of peace, it was decided to reduce weapons again production? Chapter 85 The Bleeding Osborne Industry and the Hanmo Industry. Hearing this, Tony laughed and explained, Oh, Mr. Justin, isn't it normal to sign a contract with the military in order to realize more people's dreams? I decided to re-expand the weapons industry, starting today. The production of the big Jerick missile. Rhodes nodded and smiled. Yes, Tony, we must vigorously develop weapons, and we must increase the production of Jerick missiles. Jarek missiles are really easy to use. And you don't want to develop a more powerful missile. By the way, Tony, it is the more powerful missile you told me last time. How is the development now? Hearing this, Tony slapped his thigh and said with a smile, "Hey, Rhodes, if you didn't say anything, I'd have forgotten about it. The last time I proposed an idea in the company, I was stopped by Jake. The current situation should be able to reopen. Study it, Jake, you shouldn't stop it this time." After listening to Zhou, he took a deep breath, nodded, and said, "Well, Tony, for the dream proposal, we should indeed increase the production of some Jarek missiles and restart weapons research. There is no way. Who will let us? It's really hard for a company like Tucker Industries to support the dreams of all New Yorkers." Rhodes smiled and said, "Okay, then it's settled. I'll be in charge of the order." Stark Industries weapons are very famous in the military. When Norman heard this, he became anxious, coughed twice, and dissuaded, "Tony, I don't think you should continue to develop new weapons. The weapons are powerful enough now, so continue to develop new weapons. Weapons are not a good thing. Isn't this a global arms race?" Justin also looked anxious and quickly echoed, "Yeah. This is likely to produce the next Great Depression, which is not a good thing for the whole of New York and the United States, and it will interrupt the development of our United States." "Tony, this is absolutely impossible." After hearing this, Zhou shook his head, smiled confidently, and said confidently, "Oh, Mr. Norman, Mr. Justin, you are overthinking it. I graduated from the Department of Business Administration of New York University, and also took the economics degree, PhD. I made a model estimation of the future economic development of the United States. The Great Depression will not occur in the next 50 years. This is the topic of my graduation thesis. I am very confident that there is absolutely no problem." Tony smiled and said loudly on purpose, "Jake, if you say that, then I will be more confident. After I return from Afghanistan this time, I will study that epoch-making weapon rod. You can finalize it with the military when you go back. My Tony's latest masterpiece. I believe the military will finalize it in advance." Rhodes nodded solemnly, patted his chest, and said with a smile, "Don't worry, Tony. This matter is covered by me. Our military has always been very confident in Stark Industries. The friendship between our military and Stark has been enduring, almost a century." When Norman heard this, he panicked instantly. Damn it. It turned out that a weapon development company said that it would drop a large number of weapon orders, all of which were false. He took a deep breath and said, "I don't think the weapon is really urgent. This epoch-making weapon is too dangerous, and it can easily affect the peace of the world. Why don't you slow down first?" Hearing this, Zhou took a long sigh, first pushed his glasses, then spread his hands and said helplessly, "What can we do? The American dream. Everything we do is for the American dream." Before the weapon came out, is it a bit of a joke to draw conclusions so easily now? Mr. Norman, I don't quite agree with the idea of predicting something bad in the future. Tony nodded and agreed, "Well, it is true, and Mr. Norman, Mr. Justin, you must have confidence in Jake's economic model. Know that our Stark Industries stock has not fallen since Jake joined Stark Industries. Well, Jake, as long as you support it, developing weapons is a breeze for me, and I, Tony, are a genius." Justin Hammer, who has been silent for a long time, heard the words, took a deep breath, and gritted his teeth and said, "Well, about Stark Industries' Dream Fund, we Hammer Industries will help, as long as Tony no longer develops cross-generational weapons, and I, Justin Hammer, can come up with 5 billion cash." Norman also gritted his teeth and said, "Tony, I can also give 5 billion, as long as I don't develop new weapons, and I hope Stark Industries can say on the official website, you have always been the United States. The most trustworthy and conscientious enterprise must not destroy its own good reputation." Zhou heard this, looked at Tony, frowned, and said, "How about Tony? Do you think about it?" "I think what Mr. Norman and Mr. Justin said, makes sense, Tony, you know I'm on the inside, no I hope to develop epoch-making weapons. But you are the chairman of Stark Industries and this matter depends on your thoughts. And Tony, this dream fund created by our three industries is sure to cause a sensation in the United States, which is a great thing. Tony was silent for a long time, took a deep breath, and said, okay. Jake, my father Howard once told me that people should be honest and the orders of the weapons industry should still be the same as they were originally. Hearing Tony Stark's words, Norman Osborn and Justin Hammersey took a deep breath, dismissing Tony's idea. It was worth the money. You must know that you can come to a few big orders with the military to reach a friendship. Successfully replacing Stark Industries' position in the military, then Osborne Industries and Hammer Industries really have everything. After a few people continued to chat friendly for a while, Norman Osborn and Justin Hammer slowly got up to leave. Look at the figures of the two who are far away. Zhou pushed up his glasses, looked at Tony with a smile, and said, how about Tony? I'm feeling a lot better this time. In fact, sometimes you only need to attend such award ceremonies a few times, and you will experience more. Such joy just taking the chance is sure to disgust Norman Osborn and Justin Hammer, disgusting the joy they both bring me to work passionately for weeks. After hearing this, Tony nodded, gave Zhou a thumbs up, and said with a big laugh, indeed, Jake, I feel so happy when these two old foxes are so disgusting strength. Norman Osborn and Justin Hammer, these two old foxes are really going to bleed a lot this time. Looking at their expressions, I am really happy. I have been suppressing myself just now of laughter. Hearing this, Zhou smiled and said, however, such opportunities are rare, and there are not so many opportunities to really disgust these two old foxes. This time is mainly because of the presence of Rhodes. Plus Tony, you attended the military awards ceremony in person, and you have to go to Afghanistan tomorrow. Altogether, this will happen. Rhodes smiled and said, Tony, Jake, these two old foxes really care about the military's orders and the military's attitude. Both of their industries are working hard to develop new weapons according to the military's description. Testimonials. Hello everyone, this book is coming soon. It has been 40 days since the first chapter was released on August 13, and after writing 200,000 words, it is finally on the shelves. Scatter flowers. Here, S.H.E.L.L.D would like to first thank the readers and fathers for their collections, follow-up reading, rewards, and various votes. I would also like to thank my editor, Ping, who picked me up when I had tens of thousands of words and gave me a chance. As a God-begging baby, S.H.E.L.L.D is here to give a hard knock to all the readers and fathers who have been reading books. Next comes the question of the update, which is also the most important question. It will be on the shelves at 12:05 noon tomorrow. On the same day, S.H.E.L.L.D will guarantee the fifth watch. The first order exceeded 1,000 and an update was added the next day. As for the reward, this belongs to my knowledge blind spot and I haven't considered it at all. I'm satisfied if you can subscribe. However, if there is a reward, I will definitely try my best to satisfy the bosses. In addition, the daily update after the launch, I want to keep coming, but I feel that my energy will not be enough. So for the time being, let's like it and set it to 8,000 per day. The time is 9:00, 13:00, 17:00, 21:00, which corresponds to breakfast, lunch, dinner, and supper. Next is the sacrificial ceremony. The first one. Craving for popsicles, pirates. The first partner is Tom Cat, a very interesting pirate fan, with excellent grades, witty and humorous, and easy flow. Second. Bacon and beans clay pot rice. Uchiha's supreme Teishu Uchiha Fama, a muscular man, punches to the flesh and makes your blood boil. The third. Champagne. Change. Invaders in the world of witchcraft. It belongs to the old witch, and the writing is very delicate. Fourth place. Dan Jie. Under the 4 generations of Naruto Orochimaru. This is a story of Orochimaru playing with the ninja world, and Tsunade is really good. Fifth place. edamame with wine, super god I have countless scholar templates super seminary, countless scholar templates 6th place. The first beauties, the queen of injustice and her 6th assistant you don't want your family to be disappointed, do you? 7th. Shaw by the sea. Deep blue devouring the starry sky do not press the protagonist level, dark blue. Add a bit. 8th. Ridicula, Duoluo, Song of the Blue Dragon Lai Change was inexplicably reborn in the Duoluo continent, and after awakening the Azure Dragon martial spirit, a new story began. 9th. Braised Donuts, Duoluo's life to the end as Qian Rangsu's ancestor, Qian Zhongling said that you should pay back the sins that Tang San did. 10th. 1 Autumn and 2 Leaves, Super Seminary, beginning with the Battle of the Furious. See the start of the slag, the key point of slag calligraphy and painting. I hope to see the readers and fathers here to order the first order or ask for the first order, please, please, please. Chapter 86 Star Bar. After a while, General Ross stepped onto the podium and began to speak loudly. /U003C/P/U003E. His speech lasted for more than half an hour and was not over yet. I really couldn't think of where the general came from so many words. /U003C/P/U003E. Tony Stark, who was sitting under the stage, had completely exhausted his patience at this time. He had no patience at all. He took a deep breath, stood up directly, and looked at Zhou Ran and Rhodes. /U003C/P/U003E. Tony didn't speak, but from the look in his eyes, it could be seen that it was a multiple-choice question, choose me or him. /U003C/P/U003E. Zhou Ran got up directly. Of course he wanted to choose Tony. Don't ask, asking is love. If you want to survive in the Marvel Universe, this is the most correct choice. /U003C/P/U003E. The two looked at Rhodes in unison. /U003C/P/U003E. Under the gazes of the two, Rhodes stood up reluctantly. Damn it, I can only hope that General Ross will not be so stingy. Well, someone who can become a general must have a big belly. /U003C/P/U003E. The three of them left the awards ceremony directly. General Ross, who was giving a speech on the stage, could not help but twitch the corner of his mouth. /U003C/P/U003E. /U003C/P/U003E. Queens, New York. /U003C/P/U003E. Blake Street, Star Bar. /U003C/P/U003E. This is a bar that Zhou Ran used to frequent. The owner of the bar is Lu Chen, a very handsome Asian. /U003C/P/U003E. In Zhou Ran's eyes, this bar is similar to the Sichuan restaurant opened by Lao Mo, and it belongs to the kind of interest that outweighs the occupation. /U003C/P/U003E. This bar is very quiet, and there are no customers at all, only the owner Lu Chen and two very sexy bunny girls. /U003C/P/U003E. Zhou Ran used to come here often. Those were the years when he first came over and joined Stark Industries. At that time, he was really worried and stressed all day long. He had to rely on alcohol to anesthetize himself every night before he could fall asleep. /U003C/P/U003E. Later, after a little bit of reuse, and after the development got better and better, he didn't need to come often. /U003C/P/U003E. In addition, after going to the martial arts hall to practice martial arts, Master Rick always told him to drink less alcohol and stay away from alcohol, and martial artists should always maintain their meditation. /U003C/P/U003E. Zhou Ran rarely goes to bars. U003C/P/U003E. This time Zhou Ran proposed drinking to Tony, and naturally he would be in charge of the drinking place. U003C/P/U003E. The first thought in his mind was this Xingchen bar. It is very quiet and there are no people here. It is very suitable for drinking and talking with good friends. U003C/P/U003E/U003 Ka href equals ID equals WZI U003E/U003C/P/U003E U003C/P/U003E. Zhou Ran brought Tony and rode in slowly. U003C/P/U003E. Tony looked at the decorations in the bar, with a hint of surprise in his eyes, and said with a smile, "Jake, you really hide it. You even hide such a good drinking place with me. The decorations here are all antiques. Has a sense of historical precipitation. But why haven't I seen the two very beautiful bunny girls you mentioned? U003C/P/U003E. Zhou Ran smiled and said, "It's daytime, not night. Bunny girls can't go to work all the time. They have to rest. In the evening, the bunny girls will come to work. U003C/P/U003E. Rode nodded, sighed, and said with emotion, "Tony, you really should think less about those unhealthy things. Doing too much of that kind of thing really hurts your body. U003C/P/U003E. You are still young. You will know when you are 40. What I said today is absolutely true. U003C/P/U003E. Tony rolled his eyes and sneered, "Rod, don't underestimate my Tony's energy. Once I'm on fire and all the cover girls for 12 months are coming, it won't be enough. U003C/P/U003E. Seeing this, Zhou Ran shook his head and led the two to the bar to sit down. U003C/P/U003E. Lu Chen, who was immersed in bartending, slowly raised his head and said with a smile, "Zhou, you haven't been here for a long time. It should be 2 months and 17 days. U003C/P/U003E. Are these two your friends? This is the first time you brought anyone here. U003C/P/U003E. Zhou Ran nodded and introduced. Xiao. These two are my very good brothers. This one is Rhodes, and the other you should have seen in the news and newspapers. U003C/P/U003E. Lu Chen smiled and said, "That should be Mr. Tony Stark. I have seen him on the news, and his name always appears in the newspapers. U003C/P/U003E. Then Lu Chen pointed to the wine list on the table and asked, "Mr. Tony, Mr. Rhodes, what would you two like to drink?" U003C/P/U003E. Tony smiled and said, "Look, come on, the three of us are going to get drunk today. U003C/P/U003E. Rhodes nodded and said, "Well, that's right, I just want to get drunk. U003C/P/U003E. After hearing this, Lu Chen snapped his fingers and said, "No problem. I will definitely let you experience the feeling of being drunk. U003C/P/U003E. Then he looked at Zhou Ran again and asked with a smile, "Zhou, what would you like to drink? Is it the same U003C/P/U003E? Zhou Ran shook his head and said with a smile, "Little Lu, I'll talk about it later. I'll drink with them first, and I'll get Tony and Rhodes drunk first. U003C/P/U003E. Hearing this, Lu Chen smiled and said, "Then you will definitely be able to get them drunk. I'm very confident in your drinking capacity. U003C/P/U003E. 3 minutes later. /U003C/P/U003E Lu Chen prepared the wine. He put the wine in front of the three of them, 7 cups per person, 20 cups in total. /U003C/P/U003E Then he slowly walked out of the bartending table. /U003C/P/U003E Tony raised his eyebrows, looked at Zhou Ran, and said very unhappily, "Jake, what does he mean?" After mixing the wine, he left without saying a word and didn't introduce any introduction. This is the first time I have met such a character. Weird boss. /U003C/P/U003E I feel like I've been hurt very badly. I've never been treated like this by Tony Stark. He's so arrogant. He doesn't seem to care about me at all, and it's only 7 cups, which is to look down on me. /U003C/P/U003E Rhodes shrugged, laughed and joked, "Hey, Tony, how does this feel?" "It's hard. You know you've always been like this. /U003C/P/U003E People who don't really know you well will have a bad sense of you when they see you for the first time. /U003C/P/U003E Tony frowned, looked at Zhou Ran, pointed to himself and asked, "Jake, am I really proud? Why don't I feel it? And do I really have bad senses? /U003C/P/U003E After listening to Zhou Ran, he shook his head and gave his answer with a smile. "No, I don't feel that way. Tony, I think you are like this. Your temper is really real and great, very good, charming. If I had the creative genius of yours, I'd be far more arrogant than you. /U003C/P/U003E Actually, the answer is very simple. Everyone scolds Tony Stark, but everyone wants to be Tony Stark. /U003C/P/U003E After listening to Tony, he laughed and said very proudly, "Haha, I understand." After saying this, there is no problem with my character, the problem is them. They are jealous of me. /U003C/P/U003E When Rode heard the words, he didn't know what to say for a while, and he couldn't help sighing. /U003C/P/U003E Maybe this is the old saying in the East. In the eyes of a lover, there is a Shih Tzu. In Jake's eyes, Tony is a Shih Tzu. /U003C/P/U003E Zhou Ran smiled, pointed to the 7 glasses of wine in front of him, and explained to Tony and Rhodes. Tony, Rhodes, and the 7 glasses of wine made by S.H.E.L.L.D are very original and very artistic. He, as you told me, the inspiration for these 7 drinks is music, and each piece of music is made up of 7 notes. /U003C/P/U003E These 7 notes, we all know, do come re mi send fa instigate sol la west c. These 7 notes can constitute all the worlds. The movement, the 7 glasses of wine in front of you can also drink all the stories in the world. /U003C/P/U003E Well, there is also S.H.E.L.L.D who looks very arrogant, but in fact he is very gentle. He is here to play for us, and the piano he plays is really good. This is definitely the level of a great musician you have. I'm happy. /U003C/P/U003E Chapter 87 The Conversation of 3 Men. Zhou Ran's introduction was over. /U003C/P/U003E Lu Chen sat in front of the piano, rubbed his 10 white and slender fingers with a smile on his face, and started his performance. /U003C/P/U003E As the white and slender fingers gently pressed on the black and white keys, an incomparably wonderful movement followed in the Xingchen bar. /U003C/P/U003E That movement is like a gurgling spring, like a blue ocean, like the red sky under the sunset. /U003C/P/U003E At this moment, each note seems to have its own soul. They seem to come alive, and they compete to show their own charm. /U003C/P/U003E. When Tony listened to this wonderful movement, his eyes widened and his face was full of surprise. He first gave a thumbs up, then picked up the wine in front of him and praised with a smile. It is no exaggeration to describe. This is definitely the best music I've ever heard in my life, and I can't wait to taste this wine. /U003C/P/U003E. Jake, Rhodes, let's have a big drink. /U003C/P/U003E. Rhodes nodded, picked up the wine in front of him, and said with a smile, "Yes, have a big drink. This is a rare gathering of the three of us. Usually everyone is very busy. How can we have time to spare?" Oh, this sentence, with the exception of Tony. /U003C/P/U003E. Zhou Ran also picked up the wine in front of him and said with a smile, "Rod, don't say that. If you say that, I will speak for my boss. Tony is very busy every day. He is a very tired brain worker." /U003C/P/U003E. After hearing this, Rhodes shrugged and said helplessly, "Jake, this is so unfair. The two of you add up to 2 /U003E1. It seems that I can't talk about Tony today, so I should drink a bar !" /U003C/P/U003E /U003 Ka href equals httpm.id equals wzi /U003E /U003C/U003E /U003C/P/U003E ding /U003C/P/U003E. The 3 glasses filled with wine collided together, making a crisp and pleasant sound. /U003C/P/U003E. When middle-aged men drink together, they say nothing more than 3 things. The first is complaining, the second is bragging, and the third is women. /U003C/P/U003E. Of course, there is a 4th type, which is really drinking too much and starting to talk nonsense. /U003C/P/U003E. Rhodes usually drinks well, but today the bartender is not an ordinary person. After a glass of wine, he went straight to his head and began to complain frantically, "Oh, you know, my immediate boss is like a pig stupid, and he wants everyone to praise him and praise him." /U003C/P/U003E. He really has no IQ at all and can do any kind of stupid thing. /U003C/P/U003E. Did you know? He even used missiles to set off fireworks on his girlfriend. He also said it was romantic. If he hadn't had a good dad, I would have killed him! /U003C/P/U003E. Upon hearing this, Tony took a sip of wine, his eyes lit up, and he laughed. "Rod, your boss is really romantic. He is too romantic. Why didn't I expect such a romance? /U003C/P/U003E. Rhodes picked up the second glass of wine, took a sip, and sneered, "Romantic. Indeed romantic, but this is definitely not something a smart person can do. That stupid boss doesn't even have any excuses. If I definitely organize a military exercise /U003C/P/U003E. Not drunk." The sober Zhou Ran noticed the details in Rhodes' words. "Boss. What boss?" /U003C/P/U003E. The last time I met with Rhodes, Rhodes didn't say anything about his boss. Although his rank was not big or small, it was very special. He was directly managed by Washington. /U003C/P/U003E. Zhou Ran smiled and asked, "Rod, I remember you said last time that your words here in the New York military are very important and belong to Washington directly. Why did you add a boss /U003C/P/U003E? Rhodes gritted his teeth and said fiercely, "How do I know this? Who knows what Washington thinks? And suddenly told me that I have a boss. Damn, this is not at all what was agreed at the beginning." Like, the bastards in the White House !U003C/P/U003E damn, my god boss, his dad is the Lieutenant General Ross at the awards ceremony today !U003C/P/U003E Tony drank a little too high, laughed loudly, and said extremely arrogantly, isn't he a general? There are many generals in the United States, Rhodes. Do you want me to fulfill your dream now !U003C/P/U003E we just got $10 billion from Osborn Industries and Hammer Industries. A part of this money is enough to make you a 5-star general or a real, powerful 5-star general. !U003C/P/U003E then, you can directly slap that Lieutenant General Ross. To be honest, I think that Lieutenant General Ross is not pleasing to the eye. I really want to hit him !U003C/P/U003E come on, let's hit him now. I'm going to smash the bottle on his head !U003C/P/U003E seeing this, Zhou ran grabbed Tony who was about to get up, took a sip of wine, coughed lightly, and reminded in a low voice, Tony, hitting Ross is not the most important thing. Don't forget the most important thing today. Odin pool party !U003C/P/U003E after hearing this, Tony nodded and said, then let's stop hitting Ross. Let's talk about something fun. Road, last time you said your wife is pregnant again. Is it a boy or a girl? What's your name? !U003C/P/U003E taking advantage of the wine, Rode laughed and said with great pride, it's a pair of twins, 2 boys. I'm going to name them. One is Tony and the other is Jack. How about !U003C/P/U003E after hearing this, Tony and Zhou looked at each other and cursed in unison, Rod, you are so boring. !U003C/P/U003E Rhodes smiled and said, oh, it's not boring. I really hope that my child can be as good as the 2 of you. By the way, Tony, when are you going to establish a relationship with palsy !U003C/P/U003E Tony frowned, took a sip of wine, coughed lightly, looked at Zhou, smiled, and changed the subject. This is not urgent. I haven't thought about it yet. I think it's the only way to solve Jake's single problem. Most important !U003C/P/U003E by the way, what happened to you and Miss Ellie, Jake? We should have won. How can you experience the happiness brought by women !U003C/P/U003E Allie was definitely the best woman of the day. I knew just by looking at her figure. She was definitely the kind of woman who could make a man happy to heaven! !U003C/P/U003E you should have fun, right? Jake, let me tell you, that woman can play, but she can't have real feelings. If you have real feelings, you're stupid. !U003C/P/U003E when Rode heard this, he raised his eyebrows, and a wretched smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and asked, yes, Jake, he is not an outsider. Let's talk about the first experience of being a virgin. How long did you last for the first time? !U003C/P/U003E after listening to Zhou men drank a glass of wine, pushed his glasses, and said with a smile, I'm sorry, I'm still a virgin, and nothing happened to me and Ellie. !U003C/P/U003E yesterday afternoon, Ellie, she resigned, and I finally got rid of this sticky gum. !U003C/P/U003E I feel like I'm used to living alone, and it's hard to let others into my life now. !U003C/P/U003E the main thing is that I really don't like her very much. Frankly, there may be a little bit of desire, but I can still control that desire. !U003C/P/U003E after Tony heard this, he couldn't help but stun for a while. The corners of his mouth twitched. He drank a glass of wine, was extremely angry, and scolded on the spot. What? Are you still a virgin? Jake, You are really a gentleman. I've never met someone as outrageous as you. U003C/P/U003E. I was so excited to write a check for $100 million to that woman, and now you're telling me that you didn't do anything. U003C/P/U003E. I thought that this $100 million would allow her to win you, but I didn't expect this woman to be so unsatisfactory. Jake, you are also unsatisfactory! U003C/P/U003E. If the reporters knew about this, we Stark Industries would definitely be the headlines of the New York News for a month in a row. This is really stupid. I must have been drinking too much that day. U003C/P/U003E. After Rode heard this, Men drank a glass of wine and twitched the corners of his mouth. He sighed and said with great emotion, I was really surprised by the two of you. Just fetching water for $100 million floated. U003C/P/U003E. Really, I saw this news that day, and I didn't believe it. I took it as a fire. After all, Tony is rich, but he is never taken advantage of! U003C/P/U003E. Tony shrugged, smiled wryly, and said, I'm really taking advantage of it now. You know, I went to find those women, and the most I spent was $10 million. U003C/P/U003E. I really hope that Jake can break his virginity and have a woman by his side to take good care of him. His mental state is very wrong. He doesn't look like a normal person at all. U003C/P/U003E. No normal person can be as greedy as him, Rod. I suspect he has obsessive-compulsive disorder, anxiety, limited autism, frigidity, lack of emotion. U003C/P/U003E. Chapter 88. Jake, run for the next mayor of New York. After listening, Rode nodded and said with a serious face, Tony, it seems that this is really possible. U003C/P/U003E. The more you talk, the more I feel that Jake is really not normal. He is really anxious, and his anxiety is a little too much. It seems that he always feels that he may die tomorrow. U003C/P/U003E. He treats every day like the last day. He is extremely busy, extremely serious, and always wants to leave the mark of his existence on the world. U003C/P/U003E. Listening to Rode's words, Tony nodded fiercely and said, Rode, you're right, yes, Jake, that's what it looks like. U003C/P/U003E. He is full of energy every day, and he doesn't know he is tired at all. Normal people like him have long since collapsed. It seems that he really treats every day as the last day. U003C/P/U003E. You see, although I am a genius, I create weapons every day, but I still feel tired. I will choose to use beautiful women to vent, but he doesn't even vent. U003C/P/U003E. Listening to the conversation between Tony and Rhodes, Zhou only felt that his scalp was numb, which could not let the two continue to talk. U003C/P/U003E. Zhou felt that he was like a crab now. These two bastards were like crab eaters. They really wanted to open the crab's shell and eat the soft meat inside. U003C/P/U003E. He coughed lightly and said with a smile, Tony, Rhodes, you two have a lot of thoughts. I really have no problem. Doctor Cornell has diagnosed it several times. U003C/P/U003E. Well, but I do have some anxiety, but it's not as serious as you think. U003C/P/U003E. After listening, Tony frowned and said, Jake, do you have some anxiety? Your anxiety is as big as a mountain. I don't understand. I think you must have anxiety. U003C/P/U003E. Rode nodded and continued, well, yes, I also think you must be suffering from anxiety disorders. and there are no outsiders here. You can tell us about your anxiety, and we will enlighten you. /U003C/P/U003E otherwise, we are really worried about your state. /U003C/P/U003E Zhou Ran was silent for a few seconds, picked up the wine in front of him, took a sip, sighed, and said with a smile, Tony Rhodes, this is because of my dream. As you have just said, I do want to make a mark on the world. /U003C/P/U003E I want to change New York, and I don't think there should be a weird place like Hell's Kitchen in such a bustling place. /U003C/P/U003E well, and the people of New York are really not as happy as the news says. Their happiness is fake. Most of them don't own their own houses, and most of their lives rely on loans and then use their wages loan repayments. /U003C/P/U003E and the competition in New York is brutal and fierce, and once they themselves have an economic crisis, their houses will be confiscated. /U003C/P/U003E it's the just-in-time hedonism preached by those politicians who have brought countless pacifiers to the city. /U003C/P/U003E this is not a good thing. I can foresee that there will be no more circulation between the upper and lower classes. More and more talented geniuses will become mortals, and countless scientists will die in childhood and eventually become a vagabond. /U003C/P/U003E on the streets of New York, countless homeless people are born every day. This city is no longer healthy. There are no dreams here, only money and capital. Freedom has gradually evolved into indulgence. I want to inject new life into the city energy to make a change for the better. I want to make New York a real place that everyone wants to be. /U003C/P/U003E that's why I chose to join Stark Industries after graduating from college. Only Stark Industries can change New York and change the world. /U003C/P/U003E that's why I get anxious every day, but I'm not really a problem. The anxiety brings a lot of stress, but it doesn't affect me. Most people in the world are crushed by stress, and I, on the contrary, I belong to that small group, and the pressure will turn into my motivation and make me more energetic as a whole. /U003C/P/U003E hearing this, Tony was startled for a while. He picked up the wine in front of him, took a sip, looked at Zhou Ran and said frantically, oh, damn, Jake. I think you may be really crazy. This dream is really terrifying, and you're going to turn it upside down. /U003C/P/U003E what you said just now is simply declaring war directly against the entire upper consciousness. Jake, have you really thought about it? Use your own strength to fight against the whole of New York, and even against the whole of America. /U003C/P/U003E Road took a deep breath, calmed down his shock, and said with a smile, no, I don't think Jake is crazy. On the contrary, I think he is extremely sober. /U003C/P/U003E it is precisely because of Jake's incomparable sobriety that he is so anxious and painful. He sees the deep-rooted terminal illness in the city of New York, and he sees that New York is going downhill. So, he wants to change this diseased city. He, like a surgeon in the ward, he does his best to treat a patient, and he does not dare to slack off. He must devote himself to it. /U003C/P/U003E by the way, Jake, Stark Industries alone is not enough to accomplish your dreams. I have an idea. A very good idea. /U003C/P/U003E when Zhou Ran heard what Rhodes said, his heart suddenly froze. He was extremely excited at the moment. He knew that Rhodes was giving him a divine assist and a very good suggestion. This idea was really helpful to him. Zhou Ran pretended to be very ordinary and did not show his excitement. In the dim bar, a gleam of light flashed in his eyes, but Tony and Rhodes did not see it. /U003C/P/U003E. He took a sip of his wine, frowned, and asked very curiously, Rod, what's your idea /U003C/P/U003E? Liu Meng took a sip of wine, laughed, and said, Jake, go run for the next mayor of New York. After the election is successful, you can treat the sick city as you like, as long as you pay enough taxes. Or pay more taxes, and Washington will support you. Those bastards in the White House don't care who the mayor of New York is. They only care whether New York will still be a tax-paying city. /U003C/P/U003E. You can easily get re-elected and take good care of this sick city. I will canvass for you from the New York military. I am looking forward to Jake being the mayor of New York. /U003C/P/U003E. Tony heard the words, took a sip of wine, smiled, and said, Rod, this is a really good idea of you, Jake. I also think it's a great idea. You can really think about it and become the city of New York City. Long now, with Stark Industries as the political and financial support and the support of the Rhodes military, we already have a good chance of winning. /U003C/P/U003E. The next election should be a year later, but the current mayor, Old John, although he is a bit smeared, is still very prestigious, and there is no black material. I heard that he is still very clean. This is a bit difficult. We need to fight for more /U003C/P/U003E /U003 Ka ID equals WZIHref equals /U003E. The first evolution /U003C/A /U003E /U003C/P/U003E. Rhodes shook his head, smiled, and began to make suggestions, saying, Old John has no problems. It doesn't mean that his son, John, is fine. I still know a little about John. He is very domineering. You can try to get it from him. Breakthrough /U003C/P/U003E. Tony nodded and said, how about I spend some money and come up with a beauty trick to accuse him of it? Some media public opinion. The rapist's father is also a rapist /U003C/P/U003E. It's not right. It's not right. I'm afraid your beauty plan won't work. Little John is the mayor's son. He has no shortage of beauties, and what if the beauties directly betrayed? I think you should make something bigger, create a contradiction, let Little John shoot, and the mayor's son kills with a gun. This must be a bigger public opinion. /U003C/P/U003E. Rod, your move is too bad. No, it's like this in your army! /U003C/P/U003E cough cough /U003C/P/U003E /U003C/P/U003E Zhou ran listened to the various conspiracies and tricks of a pair of good brothers, and his heart was full of emotion. This is a good friend. /U003C/P/U003E. He raised the wine glass in his hand, sighed deeply, and said with a smile, Tony, Rhodes, you two are really. I will talk about this later. I will consider running for mayor of New York. Even if I really want to. I will not use this method in the election campaign. I want to be the mayor of New York in an upright manner, so that the people of New York will not have the slightest complaint. /U003C/P/U003E. Now, let's hurry up and drink the bar. Didn't we agree? We're going to get drunk today. The two of you are going to Afghanistan tomorrow. According to the normal contract situation, the next meeting should be a week later. /U003C/P/U003E ding /U003C/P/U003E. The three glasses filled with wine collided and made a crisp and pleasant sound. U003C/P/U003E. Chapter 89 Zhou Ran and -039's Hidden Ambition. The three of them were drinking and chatting, and they didn't know how long they had been drinking or how long they talked. U003C/P/U003E. The bar that came at noon. It is dark outside now. U003C/P/U003E. Zhou Ran lowered his head and glanced at his watch. It was already 8 o'clock in the evening. U003C/P/U003E. Then he looked at Tony and Rhodes, who were already drunk, hugged tightly, and fell asleep. U003C/P/U003E. Zhou Ran couldn't help shaking his head. It seems that there should be no pool party tonight, and the plan went to waste. U003C/P/U003E. Originally, I was thinking about getting Rhodes drunk and asking Tony to take Rhodes to the pool party to record Rhodes' ugly state. U003C/P/U003E. But it never occurred to me that this guy Tony was also drunk. U003C/P/U003E. From the number of empty wine glasses on the bar, we can get the amount of alcohol for 3 people. Tony drank 6.5 glasses, Rhodes drank 4 glasses, and Zhou Ran drank all the rest of the wine between the two of them. Rhodes' alcohol intake was flat. U003C/P/U003E. The amount of alcohol these two people are really not good at. The alcohol that S.H.E.L.L.D made should not be that high. U003C/P/U003E. I remember that the first time I drank this set of wines and drank this gorgeous movement, but I drank 7 glasses directly at that time, and I was still very drunk at that time. U003C/P/U003E. Now these 7 glasses of wine taste like drinks. U003C/P/U003E. Zhou Ran smiled. He is not drunk at all now, and he is very sober. U003C/P/U003E. After he took out his mobile phone from his arms, he first called Paz and told Paz that Tony would not be going back to the villa tonight and would be staying with him. U003C/P/U003E. Then he called the military and told them that Rhodes and Tony lived together tonight. They still have things to do. After getting up early tomorrow morning, they will take Tony's private jet directly to Afghanistan. U003C/P/U003E. After 2 phone calls. U003C/P/U003E. Zhou Ran took a deep breath, slumped on the chair, stretched out 2 fingers and tapped the tabletop of the bar lightly, as if he was playing a piece of music. His whole body was extremely relaxed, not like the workaholic in the past. U003C/P/U003E. Just based on this a little lazy temperament, it can be seen that he is in a very good mood now, and the whole person is extremely happy. U003C/P/U003E. An incomparably happy smile appeared on Zhou Ran's face, and the breath he exhaled just now exhaled the anxiety that he had been suppressing for 10 years. U003C/P/U003E. Now the whole person is really comfortable. U003C/P/U003E. This time, I can really relax a little bit, and safety is finally guaranteed. U003C/P/U003E. When Tony Stark gets on a plane for Afghanistan tomorrow morning, the world will be turned upside down. U003C/P/U003E. The new era is coming, and Iron Man is about to appear. With the protection of Iron Man, Zhou Ran will be completely safe this time. U003C/P/U003E. Thinking of danger in times of peace, born in distress, dying in peace, before winning, first losing. U003C/P/U003E Zhou Ran has always been a person with clear goals, and now he has obtained Tony's most precious friendship, and his safety is guaranteed. U003C/P/U003E He lowered his head and began to think about his future again, looking for a way to further improve himself. U003C/P/U003E This is the road he thought about a few days ago, and it was also the good idea he finally said from Rhodes after guiding him little by little just now. That is the road of Sunshine Avenue. U003C/P/U003E become the mayor of New York City. U003C/P/U003E Zhou Ran nodded, and his next step should be to keep a low profile and improve his reputation in New York in all aspects. U003C/P/U003E Finally, he successfully won the mayoral election the following year and became the mayor of New York City. U003C/P/U003E Well, being the mayor of New York City is to some extent an ancient prince. This is the national condition of the United States of America, which is only a nominal unity. Each state is an independent state and has its own laws. U003C/P/U003E After Zhou Ran became the mayor of New York, he could completely ignore the orders of the White House, that is, he would not listen to the tune. As long as he met the taxes of the adults in Washington, he could build New York at will. U003C/P/U003E If he is really powerful, he can get praise from the hearts of all New York people, get their respect and love, and let the upper, middle, and lower classes fully love him. U003C/P/U003E Zhou Ran can go a little further. He can even directly separate New York from the United States and completely make it a city that belongs only to him, and build a city fortress that belongs to him. U003C/P/U003E But this is very difficult. It is absolutely impossible for everyone to feel perfect about one thing, and it can only maintain a relative fairness. U003C/P/U003E Those are just wild hopes in Zhou Ran's heart, and wild hopes return to wild hopes, and his mind is still very clear. U003C/P/U003E And those ambitions did not allow him to face the sudden dangers in the future. U003C/P/U003E After becoming the mayor of New York, the first thing is to gather extraordinary power, and the city itself will have more and more superheroes born, as long as they can be subdued in a reasonable way. U003C/P/U003E /U003C/P/U003E In this way, a New York superhero special team can be established. The lineup of this hero team must be luxurious. As for the name, he has not yet thought of it. U003C/P/U003E Probably the Trailblazers League, the Watchers League, and the Superhero Association. These three names he has yet to determine. U003C/P/U003E In this squad. U003C/P/U003E Tony, the Iron Man, must have it. Zhou Ran and Tony Stark have the best relationship and must have him. U003C/P/U003E The Hulk also has a chance to fight for it. Zhou Ran is not looking for the Hulk who is full of power and only rages and roars with filial piety. U003C/P/U003E He was looking at the carrier of the Hulk, the great scientist who created the Hulk, Dr. Bruce Banner. U003C/P/U003E Ant-Man Hank Pym is now working in a biochemical company under Stark Industries, and he doesn't know if Pym particles have been developed yet. This Dr. Pym must also be retained. U003C/P/U003E You must know that in this world, as long as you can understand technology and use technology well, to a certain extent, you can say that you are invincible. U003C/P/U003E Zhou Ran rubbed his head and continued to think. U003C/P/U003E Thor, the god of Norse mythology, the son of Odin, is more difficult. The main reason is that his hammer didn't fall into New York. It's not up to him, the mayor of New York. U003C/P/U003E If only he could drop this hammer into New York. U003C/P/U003E and the kid Parker, although I don't know if he has been influenced by himself, will he still become Spider-Man? U003C/P/U003E But this kid Parker is more than enough to be a little Iron Man, and he is also a genius and a scientist, which must be earned under his command. U003C/P/U003E There is no shortage of mutants. U003C/P/U003E The mutants in the X-Men and the Brotherhood of Mutants are definitely not allowed to join my squad. U003C/P/U003E Zhou Ran stretched out his hand and pressed his temple. U003C/P/U003E Let me think, what other wild mutants are there? U003C/P/U003E Now, if there is a Quicksilver, there should be a chance to win it, and Wanda can also win it. This is a witch who knows chaos magic. The strength is very terrible, but it is a bit high offense and low defense. U003C/P/U003E There is also the person who can be called the most powerful person to a certain extent, and he must be under his command. U003C/P/U003E This man is Deadpool. U003C/P/U003E This guy, Deadpool, must not be forgotten. He must win it. This is a monster full of vitality, immortal, and even wants to fall in love with death. U003C/P/U003E It's just that I don't know yet. Where is the monster Deadpool currently playing? U003C/P/U003E Where are the waves? U003C/P/U003E How to get in touch with him? U003C/P/U003E This combat power is already very strong, and there should still be a chance to fight Magneto, Apocalypse, Thanos, and Dark Phoenix. U003C/P/U003E But Zhou Ran felt that it was not enough. Although the enemy on the realistic side seemed to be able to deal with it, on the mysterious side, such a dark latitude demon like Dormammu, that kind of disaster would be very difficult. U003C/P/U003E After all, only magic can defeat magic. U003C/P/U003E Well, this lineup of mine still needs a mage, a very stable mage. If it is a mage, Strange will definitely not accept it in advance. Is this surgeon still far from becoming a supreme mage? U003C/P/U003E and their lineage of supreme mage. It feels a bit strange. U003C/P/U003E By the way, I still know Lao. How could I forget him? U003C/P/U003E He is an archmage who has the opportunity to become the supreme mage. Before Lao is blackened, I can definitely bring him under his command. U003C/P/U003E, but what to tell him? U003P/U003E, I don't know any magic either, so I'm sure there's no more attraction to him than Dormammu. U003C/P/U003E, if there is a direct showdown, how can I explain how I know his identity? U003C/P/U003E, Zhou Ran shook his head and smiled. U003C/P/U003E, forget it. Don't think too much about it for now, as the so-called plan can't keep up with the changes. U003C/P/U003E, at present, it is still necessary to complete the first step and become the mayor of New York City. U003C/P/U003E, the mayor of New York should not be so difficult for him, and there is no problem. U003C/P/U003E, economically he has Stark Industries backed. U003C/P/U003E, he has the support of the Clarion Daily and media public opinion. U003C/P/U003E, he has the support of Lieutenant Colonel Rhodes in the military. U003C/P/U003E, in education, he is supported by New York University and Midtown High School. U003C/P/U003E, he has the support of Cornell Presbyterian Hospital in the medical field. U003C/P/U003E, now it's time for the police. U003C/P/U003E, a glimmer of light flashed in Zhou Ran's eyes. He now has a way to persuade Director George. That's a very good way, a way to completely eradicate Hell's Kitchen. U003C/P/U003E, a good way to add a stable marriage. The police here will follow my lead in the future. U003C/P/U003E, Parker, you must strive to be good, you must win Gwen, and the Godfather will help you facilitate this regrettable marriage. U003C/P/U003E, with Mary Jane, it depends on your ability. If you have the ability, let her be your lover. If you don't have the ability, don't blame the Godfather for being cruel and break up you. U003C/P/U003E, either way, I think Gwen is a better match for you. U003C/P/U003E, because, in the world of Spider-Man, Mary Jane loves the superhero Spider-Man, and Gwen loves Peter Parker under the spider mask. U003C/P/U003E. Chapter 90, The Mysterious Personality Comes to the World. Lu Chen walked into the bar slowly, smiled at Zhou Ran, and said, "Zhou, you seem to be in good shape now, very relaxed and happy. U003C/P/U003E, Zhou Ran nodded and smiled. It may be because I haven't had a drink for a long time. After all, I haven't come to drink for 2 months. U003C/P/U003E, after listening to Lu Chen, he smiled and shook the glass he was holding, and asked, "Zhou, I don't think you're enjoying your drink very much. Gorgeous movement doesn't make you feel drunk at all now. Now, how about another drink? Is it still the same? U003C/P/U003E, Zhou Ran pushed his glasses and said with a smile, "Well, Xiao Lu, it's the same as it is. I think the wine you have here is still the best drink from the Tears of the Goddess. That wine tastes very good and leaves me with a lot of aftertastes." U003C/P/U003E, Lu Chen nodded and smiled at Zhou Ran. Then he lowered his head and started to mix wine. This glass of wine called Tears of the Goddess was extremely troublesome, cumbersome, and had a lot of materials. /U003C/P/U003E. Zhu Ran looked at Lu Chen's elegant movements one after another, as well as the incomprehensible bartending process, and he felt shocked every time he watched it. /U003C/P/U003E. It's like an artist creating a great work in front of your eyes, and you can witness every step of his creation. /U003C/P/U003E. It will take a long time to make this wine. /U003C/P/U003E. Zhu Ran smiled and asked, "Little Lu, it was really hard for you today. This time you played 3 pieces. You know you usually only play 1. /U003C/P/U003E." Hearing the words, Lu Chen didn't stop his movements. The corners of his mouth rose slightly, revealing a smile, and replied, "There are 3 guests today, so naturally, 3 songs will be played. The customer is God, that's right. God's respect. /U003C/P/U003E. Hearing this, Zhu Ran nodded and asked, "However, you are still very deserted here. After so many years, why haven't there been many customers? It's clear that your store is in a good location. /U003C/P/U003E. Xiao Lu, I found that your bar, Lao Mo's restaurant, and Lao Ric's martial arts gym are all like this. You can't see anyone in the desert. /U003C/P/U003E. After hearing this, Lu Chen smiled and answered Zhu Ran's question. "Zhu, I can't decide how many customers there are. The store is there. Those who want to come in will naturally come in, and those who don't want to come in will naturally not come in. /U003C/P/U003E Ka ID equals WZIHREF equals /U003E/U003C/P/U003E. You can't let me go out and stand outside the store and drag people. Besides, I'm just interested. I don't care about money and other things. What I care more about is whether the people who come here are interesting. /U003C/P/U003E. Zhu Ran heard the words, smiled, and continued, "Indeed, you and old Rick seem to be richer. You two are not like that guy, old Mo. I worry every time that his shop won't be able to open. Often I'll give him some money. /U003C/P/U003E. Lao Mo's dishes taste great, and every dish is very artistic. There are 2 dishes that have been very impressive and memorable to me these days. /U003C/P/U003E. One dish is called Lucifer's Lamentation, and the other is called Hell's Feast. /U003C/P/U003E. Listening to Zhu Ran's words, Lu Chen's bartending movement suddenly froze. He slowly raised his head and asked, "The Feast of Hell. What kind of dish is that? /U003C/P/U003E. Zhu Ran sighed and said with a smile, "I have always remembered that dish very clearly. It was 10 demons in hell who were eating a female angel. The female angel's name was Gabriel, and she was one of the 10 demons. The love of Lucifer, the fallen angel among demons. /U003C/P/U003E. And Lao Mo was very real, as if he had seen it with his own eyes. He even carved the expressions on the faces of the demons. I can still recall the expressions on Lucifer's face now. /U003C/P/U003E. Lu Chen smiled and asked, "What kind of expression is that? /U003C/P/U003E. Zhu Ran coughed lightly and said slowly, "Cough, Xiao Lu, do you know?" Lucifer's face didn't have a trace of sadness, but a crazy laugh. "Maybe this is the devil's thinking. It's not. I can understand. /U003C/P/U003E. Lu Chen nodded, and the bartending movement in his hands also stopped. Then he poured the blue and sparkling wine into a transparent container in the shape of tears. /U003C/P/U003E Lu Chen put the tear of the goddess gently on the bar and pushed it with his hand. /U003C/P/U003E His series of movements was very elegant. He looked at Zhou Ran with a smile and said, Zhou, the tears of the goddess. All right. Please take it slow. /U003C/P/U003E Zhou Ran smiled and picked up the blue and sparkling wine. No matter how you looked at it, it didn't look like a glass of wine, but more like a work of art. /U003C/P/U003E It seemed like a tear of a goddess. Zhou Ran slowly drank the tears of a goddess, slowly closed his eyes, a smile appeared on his face, and he looked very intoxicated. /U003C/P/U003E He began to recall the smell of the tears of the goddess, and the more he recalled the smile on his face, the happier he was, but gradually Zhou Ran felt drunk. Under the strong drunkenness he fell directly on the bar, and he seemed to be sleeping. It's normal. /U003C/P/U003E This is a special cup of tears of the goddess, but Zhou Ran, who is now drunk, doesn't know it. /U003C/P/U003E When Lu Chen saw Zhou Ran who had fallen asleep, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He stretched out 3 fingers and whispered softly, 3, 2, 1 /U003C/P/U003E After checking the 3 numbers, he looked behind Zhou Ran. /U003C/P/U003E 3 meters behind Zhou Ran, a golden light slowly lit up, and the golden light became brighter and bigger, illuminating the entire dim stars bar. /U003C/P/U003E Then the golden light slowly dissipated. /U003C/P/U003E A blonde figure dressed in gold-patterned silver armor and a red cloak showed his figure little by little. /U003C/P/U003E Saying on the silver throne, with an indifferent expression on her face, she slowly opened her eyes, looked at Lu Chen, and said, Devil, why did you wake me up this time? Porch of /U003C/P/U003E After Lu Chen bowed extremely gracefully, he raised his head, showed a gentle smile, and said, You guessed it right, of course, to express to you again my lofty love for you, holy Keisha. /U003C/P/U003E And, again, I'm not a demon, I'm an angel, I'm the fallen angel Lucifer. /U003C/P/U003E After that, Lu Chen smiled and revealed his true body again. /U003C/P/U003E This is an angel with 6 jet black wings. He has supreme beauty and wisdom. His whole body is shining with dark silver light. That is the morning star. That is the light of dawn. That is dawn. /U003C/P/U003E He is the great seraph Lucifer in heaven. He is the most evil devil in hell, the fallen angel Lucifer. /U003C/P/U003E Keisha shook her head, looked at the angel in front of her with a pair of blue-green eyes, and said very calmly, Okay, Lucifer, even if you are an angel, a good-looking angel, there is still no one between us. A little bit of possibility. /U003C/P/U003E However, Lucifer, for the sake of you being an angel for the time being, I'll forgive you for your rude behavior, but I hope this is the last time. If there is another time, there will be such disrespectful behavior again. If so, then I, the king of angels, the holy Keisha, can't just talk about it. /U003C/P/U003E And, in my understanding, an angel's love is very pure. An angel can only love one person and protect one person in his life. He is the person I love, the person he protects, and that oath, the life of an angel is only one person. Can tell someone U003C/P/U003E although he can't hear it now, and probably never will, but it doesn't affect my love for him. Every time I wake up, I say to him U003C/P/U003E. Chapter 91 The Origin of Sacred Keisha. Keisha slowly got up from the throne and walked to Zhou Ran's side. She gently stroked Zhou Ran's face with her hands, her expression solemn and serious, and whispered softly, I am willing to be his guardian angel and love what he loves. Think what he thinks, bear the pain for him, and endure the suffering. U003C/P/U003E whether poor or rich, whether humble or noble, whether in troubled times, or God's disregard. I will draw a sword for him and fight for him, and take up his wings. I will never leave and never give up. U003C/P/U003E Seeing this, Lucifer put away the huge wings that shone with silver light, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and said, Okay, holy Keisha, although I respect your choice, I still want to remind you, Keisha. Shah, you must know that the two of you are destined to have no future. U003C/P/U003E Keisha, do you know your true origin? U003C/P/U003E Keisha frowned and asked, My true origin? I never thought about this. U003C/P/U003E Lucifer nodded and explained with a smile, You are the king of angels, and you are destined to become a god in the future. Although there is an invisible chain binding you to Zhou, when your true power slowly awakens, you will break this chain one day. It's not your love for Zhou, it's a chain. U003C/P/U003E It is the will of God. She slowly awakens in your body, and one day you will become the Most High God. U003C/P/U003E A long time ago, I fell with 1/3 of the morning stars in the sky, from the seraph Lucifer to the fallen devil Lucifer in hell. I occupied heaven with all the monarchs of hell and killed God, slaughtered all the angels. U003C/P/U003E But all the monarchs of hell, including me, know that God did not die because of us, but she chose to embrace death herself. She will one day be resurrected from the dead, and cast the light again. U003C/P/U003E and you, the true origin of the holy Keisha, are the soul fragments of all the dead angels gathered together. You are the incarnation of heaven's will, and you will become the next her. This is your true origin. U003C/P/U003E Actually, holy Keisha, what I love is not you, but Gabriel who sleeps in your body. When you become God, all the dead angels will be resurrected again, and Gabriel will be born again. U003C/P/U003E After hearing this, Keisha shook her head and said with a smile, Lucifer, maybe what you said is indeed my true origin, but I didn't feel that there was a chain binding me. If the chain you are talking about refers to destiny, it can really be understood as a chain. My destiny and his destiny have long been connected. Without him, there would be no me. U003C/P/U003E Before this, the justice of divine Keisha was to guard the civilization of the entire known universe. After this, the justice of divine Keisha was to guard him alone. U003C/P/U003E After hearing this, Lucifer smiled, spread out his huge wings that shone with silver radiance again, and said slowly, If that's the case, then let me cut off the chain of destiny and let you go free. I have already thought of this idea. It's been a long time since U003C/P/U003E After Lucifer said, a silver radiance appeared in his hand. That was dawn, that was the star of dawn, that was the light of dawn. U003C/P/U003E Lucy's eyes glowed with the color of stars. He raised the silver brilliance in his hand high, and slashed towards the middle of Zhou Ran and Keisha. /U003C/P/U003E/U003E the snow-capped Himalayas all year round. /U003C/P/U003E the Holy Land of Mage, Kamataj. /U003C/P/U003E the Great Supreme Mage Guyi, who was practicing magic, opened her eyes full of wisdom, and her eyebrows were wrinkled together. /U003C/P/U003E/U003 Ka ID equals WZI equals /U003EYY fiction /U003C/U003E/U003C/P/U003E she felt a powerful force. It was the power of the hell dimension. It was the power of the fallen angel Lucifer, the demon king of hell. It was the power of 1/3 of the morning star. This is the power God gave to Lucifer. The power is very powerful. /U003C/P/U003E Lucifer is more powerful than Mephisto, so he must be stopped. /U003C/P/U003E Master Guyi stood up, stretched out his hands, opened a golden portal, and headed for where Lucifer was. /U003C/P/U003E a trace of killing intent flashed in her eyes. Lucifer, since you dare to use this powerful power on the earth, I must let you know the power of the Eye of Agamotto, and I will exile you in endless in time. /U003C/P/U003E Blake Street. /U003C/P/U003E in Lucifer's star bar, a golden portal lights up. /U003C/P/U003E then a bald-headed strong man wearing an orange monk's robe and the Eye of Agamotto on his neck walked out from the golden portal. /U003C/P/U003E it is the Supreme Master Guyi of Kamataj. /U003C/P/U003E Master Guyi appeared in front of Zhou Ran in an instant. She frowned at first. Why is this person again? /U003C/P/U003E however, this human being will not have any bad influence on the future, and his body does indeed have an incomparably powerful power, which is the power of light and darkness converging in everything, and the power of light obviously overwhelms the power of darkness. /U003C/P/U003E but that power will not be awakened easily and will not be dangerous to the world. /U003C/P/U003E the more important thing now is to deal with Lucifer in the dimension of hell in front of him. /U003C/P/U003E these thoughts arise in an instant and dissipate in an instant. /U003C/P/U003E a golden magic shield lit up in Guyi's hand, blocking the silver brilliance from Lucifer's piercing, and said in a cold voice, "Lucifer, you have crossed the border. Now put away your morning star and give it to me immediately to get back to yours. Hell, otherwise, don't blame me for banishing you into the endless turbulence of time. /U003C/P/U003E there was a smile on the corner of Lucifer's mouth, and he said slowly, Master Guyi, I don't seem to have violated our agreement. This is not the Earth, but the dimensional space where hell and the Earth overlap. It seems that there is nothing to use my power here. !/U003C/P/U003E Guyi, if you violate your agreement, then the monarchs of hell will invade the earth together. I think no matter how much you push the time gem on your chest, you may not be able to win. !/U003C/P/U003E as long as we hold you back for a second. Sadorak in the Crimson Hell can easily destroy everything here, and the last time he resisted Sadorak, the Trinity Washandi, who has always existed in the magic field, was also hit hard. I really don't know who the great Supreme Master can rely on now /U003C/P/U003E Odin, the King of the Gods. To be honest, his daughter Hela is preparing to rebel, and he's going to fall into the next Odin's sleep. Do you expect his son Thor, who hasn't grown up yet /U003C/P/U003E, or do you count on the swallowing star who once guided you in your practice? I think you don't want to let the swallowing star come, compared to Sadorak, but the swallowing star will really eat the earth /U003C/P/U003E Master Guyi. When the demon gods and the hell dimension are united, you can't save this earth by yourself. Do you want to count on the person next to me? He is going to die soon, and you don't want him either. Die, the one who gave all his crown for the earth /U003C/P/U003E. Even if you win in the end, then you should be the only one left on this planet. Once something happens, the time stone cannot be restarted. /U003C/P/U003E. Lucifer smiled, looked at the eyes of Agamotto that sparkled on Guyi's chest, and said in a cold voice, "So, Master Guyi, please leave here. /U003C/P/U003E." After Guyi heard it, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and he reached out and waved forward, opening the mirror space and covering the Zinchen bar. /U003C/P/U003E. Guyi looked at Lucifer and said in a cold voice, "Lucifer, what you said is very reasonable, but it's a pity that the demons don't have the foresight you said. They can't be united, because Satan, who can truly unify all the dimensions of hell, also not born. /U003C/P/U003E. And once you are banished into endless time, your dimension will be consumed by demons who want to be Satan. /U003C/P/U003E. Alright, legends, that's it for today. If you're ready for the next chapter, smash that like button and flood the comments right now. Remember, we've got 3 days to prove this story needs to continue. Subscribe so you don't miss the drop, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.